Everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the MetaShift Krypton League. We are getting into the playoffs here. In round one, we have got DA Obsidian taking on Raijin here. My name is Gordo. I am joined on the broadcast by TDS, and we are going to break down our whole best of five here. We're getting right into picks and bans already here.
Exactly. We had some production issues. We can blame Benjamin. He's completely fine with me blaming him as much as possible, but I'm not going to do it because I'm fair. But we did have some complications, but we're in, and that's the important part. You can see the six bands already coming through, a lot of the champions that we were expecting in a matchup that I'm excited for, because just to give a little bit of context, Raijin, they finished 9th in the season, in the regular season. And they came back through Gauntlet, through everything against them to be playing now in the playoffs. And they are a pretty big dark horse as well as a pretty big underdog, because I have absolutely no hope for them, same as a lot of other people. So it's going to be fun seeing if they can perform. But just like that, Maokai picked, Jarvan picked, Seraphine picked.
Yeah, and right off the bat, it feels like kind of pushing Divine Ascension Obsidian a little bit on the back foot here. They do generally like to favor these heavy carry junglers for Cowsep Jr. in the jungle. Going to be locking in the Jarvan, which super high priority on this patch, but not going to be their traditional style. Going to be a little bit more of an enabler, a little bit more of a snowballer where he can be. Meanwhile, the Maokai locked in for Raijin, and they're going to go Caitlyn and looking at Thresh to round out the bottom lane.
Thresh, a really good pick that Raijin has played around quite a bit. A lot of pick potential, a lot of securing for the scaling so that you can get the combo going for her as well. So it's going to be fun seeing how they can perform with this sort of picks. I was also trying to look out for if someone was willing to go for the Lee Sin in the top lane. We've seen a couple of players here and there in the more professional leagues being able to pull it off in the top lane. So I'm excited to see if anyone has the willingness to try it out in these regular games. But with that in mind, Rakan to close out this, so already a lot of engage when you see the picks that have gone for DA Obsidian. They have the Rakan and the Jarvan to try and force an engage from happening, and then also long range assistance because of the Seraphine. I think can be a really dangerous duo, a trio of champions to play with in terms of engage, but they are lacking quite a bit of damage. So I'm hopeful that they opt into a little bit more physical damage either in the top lane or in the mid lane, and then something to just get extra burst. Maybe something like an Orianna with the Shockwave.
Yeah, also keeping the flex options open with this Seraphine could be going towards that mid lane. They have played one game of Seraphine mid over on the side of DA Obsidian. It was while Void was subbing into the mid lane, so every time they've played it, it's been Void playing it, but it could still be a potential flex option. They're definitely no strangers to some of those more supportive champions in the mid lane. Played some Oriannas, some Silas's, or not Silas's, Karmas, some Lissandras, some Silas's too. I just really wouldn't put Silas in that supportive champion category. Top lane bans, though, coming through from Obsidian. They are going to take away the Fiora and the Olaf, trying to pinch out that champion pool from Kenpachi. He's been such a big part of this roster's big turnaround.
100%. That I remember talking with a couple of players last week that were doing like the pre-show of the actual matchup from the Krypton League. They were saying how if Kenpachi was part of the voting for the regular season, they would have put him at least top 3. That's how much of an impact he created in the very little time that he has been a part of Raijin, and how important he has been for the victories of Raijin. I understand the focus bans. I also think that maybe this is in a way trying to play for a little more safe of a top lane pick, like maybe picking a tank before opting into anything else, and then you take away some of the options that could go against it. Or a Necton, not necessarily a tank, but certainly a champion that you don't want to get counter picked that heavily. So makes sense. Some of the count of the champions that get banned away, they were lacking a little bit of damage, so it's not like I'm against the Renekton here. I think also having already a dive setup with the Rakan and the Jarvan may end up working for the Renekton as well, because that means that he's not going in alone. And I wouldn't even put it away for them opting into something like a Kai'Sa as a last pick, just to follow up on everything.
Yeah, definitely could be on the cards here. There's the Akali locked in, presumably for Sly in the mid lane, and a whole wealth of options now available in the top lane. They've banned away quite a few carries top laners already with the Olaf, the Fiora, and the Jax, but that pool runs deep for Kenpachi. He's got the Darius there. He's got the Gwen that he's been willing to play before. I see a Zeri in this match history. I'm wondering if that's accurate or not, but it is going to be the Akali flex up towards top, though. The Victor gets locked on in here for the mid lane, and they are going to look to take that Assassin matchup into the Renekton.
Interesting option, taking the Akali out there in the top lane. I would guess there's people that would argue that you can play the Renekton into the Akali because of the point-and-click CC, and that would be a little bit more favorable for the Renekton. But at the same time, I can see the Akali also being favored in the matchup if you can play around your Shroud effectively and your mobility. It's going to be fun to see how it works out. It also goes to show how much confidence Kenpachi ends up having in there, because he's willing to say, I can take this matchup, I will dumpster you on it, and my mid lane can take anything he wants because I'm comfortable with this. And the mid lane matchup just ends up being like pretty standard, pretty just mage AP scaling heavy, nothing much to consider in there. But the idea for DFC, and I think it's pretty clear, it's go in, burst champions down when your cooldowns are up. By cooldowns I mean ultimate cooldowns, and then just try and have a numbers advantage so that you can close out team fights. Meanwhile, Raijin wants to play the long fight. They want to play around the cooldowns from the Obsidian. They want to try and play it so that their champions can deal the maximum amount of damage in the longer time the fight lasts. And even though it's probably going to be hard, because I think that they will take a little bit more time to get to that point compared to the Obsidian, it can also end up being quite dangerous if they get to that spot, because I think that it has more or less danger to play it out compared to the Obsidians that has just one mode to play the game.
Definitely true here, as matchup, right? We got Seraphine Rakan up against Caitlyn Thresh. These are some squishy bot laners coming through for Divine Ascension, and they're going to be at massive risk if they get chain CC'd. If Thresh lands a hook or anything, it is going to be lights out for whoever he manages to hit. Those shields are not going to be enough to stop the damage that Caitlyn's going to output here, so definitely going to have to play on the safer side, going to have to try to set up for these Jarvan ganks when Caitlyn inevitably starts pushing them in. Seraphine, she can farm pretty safely from afar with those high notes, but that's something to keep your eyes on for certain, as there's a lot of 2v2 threat coming in from the side of Raijin.
And that's honestly something to even put more attention into for Raijin, because one thing I distinctively remember from their games last week while we were watching 2 weeks ago when we were watching the Gauntlet, was the fact that they were playing a lot of Seraphine Thresh, which is a really conservative bot lane when you think about it. Like, they waited to get pushed, they just farmed from a safe distance, and then if they had the opportunity to commit on a play, they did. But they were never the proactive side of that. They were more so the wait and answer in case something bad happens. This time around, Caitlyn Thresh, like you were pointing out, Caitlyn is a push-heavy champion. Like, she wants to push you in, take plates, try and get control over the lane. And this is something that we haven't seen much over on the side of Raijin. So I want to see how they play around this, how effective they can make this work. Because ideally you want to play on the side of the Caitlyn, not so much on the side of the top laner, be it if it's Akali or anything else. You want to play for the Caitlyn so that she never gets behind. But you want to also give resources to Kenpachi, because he's a really good carry top laner, and you want him to be as effective as possible in the game. I want to see how they try to work out this formula on the side of Raijin.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough one. I do like that they have those options open, though. If you could put faith in your laners to be able to perform in their individual matchups, then you're pretty well set to succeed in this game here. I think if you do think Kenpachi can take this 1v1 up against the Renekton, or at the very least can farm up until he's going to be relevant later on, and if you think that this Caitlyn Thresh duo are going to be able to get that lockdown, be able to win the 2 versus 2, then all you really need to do is follow around Jarvan and match up with him to make sure he's not going to be able to swing those matchups too heavily. Your Victor is going to be able to farm safely all day long. This is not the old Syndra, the old lane bully Syndra. This is the new heavy scaling Syndra. Still got a little bit of trading power in there, but definitely not going to be at the level of threat that she would have been in metas past. So I like what Raijin's got cooking here. I think they've got themselves a good recipe to be able to take themselves this game number 1, as long as they can play through their side lanes the way they intend to.
100%. And I think their team fighting also is not necessarily bad. So you can almost always look at the angle that they can try and play with, and it can be favorable. Like, the only thing they cannot do is lose during the first side and power spikes over on the side from the Obsidian. I think, by the way, Rakan is going to be played by the 80 carry more so than the support. The support is going to play the Seraphine. So pretty interesting variation. I don't think I've seen that frequently, so it's going to be fun. But that first item power spike for each champion from the side of the Obsidian is going to be crucial, massive. And if they don't get a team fight victory around that timing, that is where the side of Raijin is pretty comfortable. That is where they can say, okay, we survived the hardest part of the game. We can play this game out defensively or just survive it, and everything is going to be fine.
I mentioned it earlier, TDS. Void is the Seraphine player. When they had to play it mid lane, it was Void who was busting it out. When they played support, it's Void. When they played it bot lane, it's been Void. Amazing. And that is going to stay true into this game. So they are really going to actually pull out this role swap here just to enable Void to play this champion that he certainly feels he's so adept on. We'll see if that's going to end up working out for them. They've got a really powerful front-to-back setup here. If they can fight Raijin on even ground, they're really going to be well prepared to be able to take this, even without the traditional marksman. You know, the engage tools, the frontline tools, they're just so much more powerful with this Jarvan and this Renekton.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think the Obsidian wants to play around like that first item timing. They want to commit. They want to get on top of the champions. Like, apart from Maokai, everyone else should be squishy enough that you can get a kill if you are able to commit heavily on it. And even though I do agree that this Syndra is a little bit more scaling or on the scaling side, she still is press R and kill someone, Syndra. Like that flavor from the champion is never going to go away. So as long as you can get on top of someone, you can burst them out on the side of the Obsidian. You can argue the same for Raijin to a certain degree, as you were saying. Like, one hook onto any of these champions could be just CC to death on the side of Raijin. And I think that peak potential on both sides. I think a good example of that is, I don't know if people watch it, SKT against or T1 against GNG, where if you pick someone out of position, like, they get bursted out immediately on both sides. And then the teamfights just become so much more easy to follow up because you're.
You definitely are. It's just about finding those engages onto the right target, right? Getting your Kali out of the back line, taking out a Syndra or a Seraphine. At that point, then the fights really do play out themselves. It's just, if you're hooking Renekton, if you're hooking Jarvan, and they get themselves to the point where they're just a little bit tankier, especially, you know, we see some Radiant Virtue Jarvans coming through in professional play, where you just, you know, you get a whole boatload of extra HP, you provide some regen for the rest of the team, you still got Seraphine and Rakan shielding you up as well. It's going to make stuff pretty tough, even after that item's been a little bit nerfed. And then Renekton, of course, just going to be big and tanky all in his own right. So definitely going to be on the lookout for how Raijin can get these fights started, and if they're going to be able to get them started the way that they want to, you know, getting these flanks with Maokai, getting these picks with Thresh, rather than the straight up front to backs.
With that in mind, though, I also think that you have to put into or take a lot into account how important Renekton and Jarvan are going to be to this composition, because even though Seraphine and Rakan are kind of the follow-up or the setup for their teamfight to work out, a lot of the damage is banking onto the Renekton and the Jarvan. Even with Radiant Virtue, you're still banking on the damage from the Jarvan potentially to follow up on a lot of their engage value. With Kenpachi, if the Renekton is behind, they cannot do anything. Like, Renekton, it feels like a former. Well, actually, I don't have a good analogy for this, but he just doesn't feel well. So if the Renekton is not really in a spot where he can actually commit to a fight or win the fight, I feel like the Raijin shouldn't be that worried about the Renekton either. Even if the fight works out perfectly, the Renekton doesn't have the damage, you can just pretty much burst him out and make him go extinct.
Absolutely can he?
Minions have spawned.
Sure, but at least those have like textures and they look normal, right? Like the Syndra passive, waiting to pick up the Splinter, it's, I don't know, especially on some of those big model champions, it weirds me out, my guy. But
Actually, now that I think about it, how many blue skins are in the game?
Like skins that are just generally blue in their color palette,
like blue, like blue is the main color. Like blue is the main color, and every particle, like you can make it out to be blue. Like look at that Seraphine skin, for example, like KDA. It's kind of bluish. So that's one. You have the Syndra as well. I think Victor has a blue one as well, which is the one from Death, like bluish green. Then you have Goalie Maokai. You also have like Akali has a blue one as well. Renekton, that one is blue. Saya has like 4 blue ones.
It's a lot of blue skins, my guy. That's
and the worst skin in the game, by the way, the Samsung Galaxy skin. I hate that skin with all my life.
Which one?
The Samsung Galaxy, the 2017, where they were world champions.
Oh, just all of them.
No, I mean the Saya one particularly because of the back.
That's fair. That's fair. Is it because of Ruler's signature? I love Ruler's signature on that skin, but
I don't dislike it. No, it's that whenever you're backing, the carriage come from the top. I swear I've had more jump scares off of that thing, thinking that someone is coming to me, than anything else in the game.
Definitely true. Definitely true. I see exactly what you're talking about from that perspective. We saw the first hook come out of Captain Tay there, didn't end up landing, but here's an engage from Cowsep, going to be following up with the CC from JDK. Izzo flashes over the wall, manages to stay alive, and they're not willing to commit the flashes to follow him, so he will survive that first gank, but will be very low on resources as a result, and probably has to recall. It is rough to clear on Maokai at this low HP.
And that gave the opportunity for Jarvan to try and go into the jungle, but funnily enough, Maokai actually cleared the jungle, so Jarvan doesn't get anything apart from the flash. It's still a good attempt from the Jarvan to try and steal things from the Maokai, and I think it's smart how they responded to these 3 members here, by the way.
Wow, Paradox Creator is here. This is absolutely nuts. Chain CC, but Sly flashes back away. They don't really have anything else. They don't have the burst damage to finish him off, and this is just a whole bunch of time that 12 Kenpachi gets to farm on his own up when Renekton is at his strongest. So I'll take that as a slight win for Raijin, even though they do have to blow the flash out their mid laner.
100%. That was way too optimistic from DA. They committed 2 flashes for just a flash from a Slide Red Flux. You can even say like arguing Iso's flash as well, and they got absolutely nothing in reality. So really interesting decision there. Really not paying off when you think about it. And like you're pointing out, the fact that Kenpachi got free time in top lane, gets an easy push, and now will back for free is so important for Raijin. Like this just makes the laning phase for the Akali at least 2 times better than it was.
For sure, going to be able to crash this wave, probably going to be able to turn that into a nice safe recall. It's exactly what you were hoping for on this early game Akali. This is the roughest part of the game for her in this matchup, and she just gets to free roll it. Here comes the recall. Paradox will be able to pick up most of this wave, except he actually ruined a lot of them with that Call the Meek, so going to be missing quite a few actually, down almost a full wave now.
Raijin counted for that. Like the Kenpachi was 100% sure that the Renekton was going to mess that up, and it ended up working. So now advantage for Raijin. They already have just a small lead based on better farming so far. Really good for Raijin in that regard. And it's a lot on how Cowsep Jr. can find a little bit more attempts to try and put the team back on board or ahead, if possible. And I think a lot of that has to do on bot lane. Like you were talking about it, right? They have to go towards the bot side while the Caitlyn is pushing and try and get a gang going for them.
Yeah, and not only that, actually, but Cowsep pretty much gave up his whole farm lead as well by committing to that extra mid lane play. Izzo not behind in CS despite getting 3-manned early on and having to flash over the wall, and now is actually converting that into a dragon with his bot lane. So love this out of Raijin so far here. They're grouping up to try to maybe contest. Void does have the flank angle here, slowing them up, throwing out the high notes. Cowsep threatening to go over the wall. Does he want this engage? He does. Dive on in. Captain Tay manages to land the hook, though, and the lockdown comes through onto Izzo. First blood picked up by Caterpillar. That is going to be a first blood drawn by DA Obsidian.
Really weird how it ended up going for the side of the Obsidian, because I think the idea from Raijin is not bad. Getting that dragon, securing the first dragon, especially with the push that they had over in the bot lane. And when they decided to disengage and just run away, I think that was a good idea. You just don't need to fight. You just get the dragon for free. Everything was working out great there. But since they stayed a little bit too longer, JDK gets a really good stun, and it just sets them up to end up losing the first blood for no real reason.
Yeah, didn't really have the opportunity to follow back on Cowcep's engage, or they do manage to get away with that engage, but they still have the dragon to back them up. That early ocean matters so much, especially for some of these more volatile lanes. Okay, getting pushed in, and Izzo might get targeted again here. He still doesn't have the flash up. Stun comes through. Here's the flag and drag. Izzo knocks them both back away, but the chase down is going to come through, and JDK picks up kill number 2 for DAO.
That felt so bad for Izzo. He was just there trying to help push the wave for his mid laner, ends up paying the price because of that really nice collapse coming in from Caterpillar, and get the play going for them. Really good that we're seeing these rotations for the Obsidian, because like we were saying, they need to have the early value off of their champions. They really value those early roams, those early plays, and they are playing off of that really well. Apart from that first gank that was kind of questionable, the rest has been really good from them.
For sure here, Raijin and DA Obsidian. We're going to have to play a lot of League of Legends here tonight, and so far Obsidian has done a good job of pulling themselves back into this first match. And a couple of plays not work out their way, but they've been able to convert and just keep on trying. Now are going to find themselves with a solid gold lead. Koi, though, finding a lot of time to beat up on Void while Caterpillar is elsewhere on the map. Going to even pop the ace in the hole here. Void's got to be very careful. The hook manages to land. They throw down the trap. He walks right into it, and Koi is going to be able to pick up that kill.
And really unlucky there. Oh, Kenpachi, though.
Yeah, Kenpachi maybe call him a little bit unlucky as well, but a nice dodge away from the shuriken flip. Going back in, has the execute coming up, trades back on to Cowcep, but will get locked down now in a 1 versus 2 situation. Izzo is coming up with the backup. How long can Kenpachi stay alive? And not any longer as Paradox flashes forward and finishes him off, and now Izzo might be up a little bit too far himself. He's been in this 1 versus 3 before, and it never goes his way, and it's not going to start this time as Izzo just trying to bramble smash them back and stay alive, and will find his way back to his turret.
That was looking like a repetition of what we've seen from Izzo so far, just getting a little bit later to the play, helping the team, and end up paying the price for it. Luckily this time, he doesn't die. Really good for Izzo, and Kenpachi trades a 1-for-1 at the end of the situation. Not sure if it's 100% worth it, but maybe for Kenpachi to try and carry the game out, it is. So I'll still stay on the middle with that one.
Yeah, I'd almost give it to Kenpachi there. You know, you're willing to trade if it's 1 kill for you for 1 kill to Renekton. I think he'll take that in a lot of situations. It just gets you accelerated, means that it's got the Leeching Leer done, going to be very close to having the Riftmaker complete, and that's going to be a big spike in his ability to fight up against Paradox Creator.
We'll say though, Paradox Creator has gotten a lot of value, both in terms of farm and in terms of kill, so not like he's doing any bad for himself.
Definitely true here. See what he's going to be able to do when it comes to these upcoming team fights. The next dragon is going to be up in 45 seconds. Raijin certainly would like to keep that stacking alive. Bot lane is just returning from the recalls. Control will be gained by DA Obsidian first and foremost.
But so far it also feels like the game has gone into kind of the trajectory that we were expecting a little bit. Early rotations, early plays from the Obsidian. Whoa, Izzo.
Big pick onto Izzo, but he does manage to get out with the Dark Passage. He at about half HP right as this dragon is going to be coming up. Cowcep is already in position, and DA Obsidian, they want to get this Infernal Drake.
And that's why the Thresh is really, really nice to have sometimes. When you have that Lantern just to save you from any dumb things that may happen to you, end up paying really well the price. Will they try to fight for this dragon? The positioning advantage. Oh wait,
Ooh, Captain Tay going in, gets the flake, gets the death sentence as well. Izzo is here for the backup. The charms are coming through from Caterpillar to try to keep his team safe, and it might just buy him enough time to fall back under the turret. Here comes the engage from Cowcep, gets the Cataclysm onto 2. Koi has slithered out of the way, though. Will be able to pick up 1 kill, but now gets chased down by DK, who will finish him off with 1 more Dark Sphere. Caterpillar gets knocked out of the knock-up, but can't manage to chase any farther. Captain Tay falls back under the turret along with Izzo. It does end up being a 1-for-1 against all odds, TDS.
Yeah, I was expecting someone else to end up dying there. It's a 1-for-1 only, but I feel like that could have been a 1-for-0 in favor of Raijin. Sadly for Izzo, flashes into the Jarvan after the Jarvan gets trapped. So in reality, could have been such an easy play for Koi to just run away, not get trapped in any way, and just survive. Really unlucky there, really bad, and that's why at the end we see that 1-for-1. Could have been a much better or much more beneficial play for the side of Raijin. I think the idea wasn't bad, especially because of the timing of the dragon, and if they played that out a little bit better, could have been kills and the dragon.
Absolutely, was so close on a knife's edge, being able to pick up extra kills there, but good job by the side of Raijin to manage to disengage, getting themselves out with just a 1-for-1. No dragon picked up, though, and that means it's time to fight over it again. Cowsep going to be the one to start that off, but he might be a little bit outnumbered here. Collapse coming in from Tay, and here comes Izzo finding JDK on the other side. Caterpillar looking to follow up on that engage. Cowsep comes over the wall, looking to chase down this jungler. They've just been bullying this Maokai this game, and Izzo going to be forced to flash once again, but Sly coming in from the mid lane to rain down some damage with the lasers, and Tay going in with the pinch maneuver as well. Cowsep falling lower and lower, just going to have to get himself out of dodge, and maybe this is the opportunity for Raijin to finally pick up this dragon.
Paradox is here, although Kenpachi is also here. Yeah, this could be the opportunity. I was gonna say, even though they've been trying to bully Izzo quite a bit, he doesn't die that much. Yes, 2 deaths, but for the amount of times that we've seen them just collapsing onto the Maokai, could have been much more.
Absolutely true. He's been getting mistreated this game for sure. Has been forced off a bunch of camps, has been forced to blow the flash defensively over and over again, but you know, he comes away with the dragon here as well, 2-0 in that category. And the gold's dead even. He's fulfilling his job.
So Koi.
Hence the quickness pop, but does the follow-up charm land. And meanwhile, there's gank in the top lane, and Kenpachi once again gets himself shifts away, dives back in, and actually takes out Cowsep. Nice play there. Is now going to be leading into a gank in the bot lane that is also going Raijin's way. That's 3 kills across the map for Raijin. 6-4 on the scoreboard. They take the lead once again.
Talk about a mechanical headache of a play. That was so beautiful play by Kenpachi. I knew it was going to go in, by the way. As soon as he got out, he had the damage. He just decided, I'm going to kill this guy. Gets the kill, gets out, and another kill on the board for this Akali. Without taking into account the advantage that they get on the bot side. Because they go down there as soon as they wasted both ultimates. Really nice play coming in from Raijin, and gets another kill for the Caitlyn. Ooh, Kenpachi.
Oh, here comes the dive in from Kenpachi. Paradox creator got to be keeping his distance here. He's gotten turned around on in these one-on-ones before. Cowsep is arriving, though, going to land the knock-up. Nice flash away to get on in there and try to take him out, but not going to be able to finish the job. First turn, though, does go down for Raijin in the bottom lane.
Which makes sense. It's the Caitlyn lane, but certainly now that they've been able to at least separate themselves a little in how they opt into plays, it's a much important advantage for Raijin. And also, we're talking about how that first item power spike was going to be so important for the Obsidian. The fact that they are behind in gold may end up just making that first item power spike not as impactful.
Yeah, that might certainly be the case here. Kenpachi brawling up against Paradox Creator, goes on in, doesn't manage to land a shuriken flip, but does he even need it? Absolutely not. Perfect execution comes through and takes out Paradox Creator.
And he really doesn't need it. He just needs the damage and pretty much just gets the kill. Gets the 1v1, the 2v1s in his favor, gets the 1v1 in his favor. Obviously, I'm not sure who's going to really be stopping Kenpachi at this point. Has the item advantage, the mythic completed, wheel back into a lot of gold, so potentially boots completed in here as well. And now the Renekton is the main question. Can the Renekton find any sort of value to back him up in what's left of the game?
Yeah, and this is how Raijin has pulled their season back around. TDS that's playing through this top lane, making this roster swap, and Kenpachi showing exactly how they were able to run their way through the gauntlet with a big turnaround in the top lane. Now 3-1, most of these in one versus many scenarios. He is popping off here, but now there's multiple members collapsing towards mid lane. Can Koi get out of here with the Dark Passage? And absolutely can, and it's a nice flay back there from the side of Captain Tank. The dive is coming through nonetheless, but it's actually just House way too far up. Big turnaround from Raijin. They get themselves 2 extra kills on top of it. It's a 3 for 0, and they can turn this push right back around in the mid lane.
It's not going to turn into an objective like the Dragon, maybe the Herald, but that was such a good response coming in from Raijin. You saw how immediate everyone was to go in for the play. Kenpachi did use a teleport to answer to Paradox Creator, but that's one of the issues that we were talking about in draft. They have a lack of damage. Their damage is really dependent on the Renekton and the Jarvan when they commit. If they don't have those champions there to try and burst out someone, even though they have huge amounts of CC, it doesn't work out that effectively, and at the end they cannot take the kill onto Koi, onto the Caitlyn, onto the Thresh either.
Definitely the case in that mid lane, and Kausap overexerting himself on the Jarvan, gonna get taken out, and now definitely behind in this jungle matchup. I mean, we were praising Izzo earlier, and now finally getting paid for it. 4-2-2 on this Maokai, picks up a double kill in that last fight. Now, so incredibly strong in these upcoming team fights. Dragon number 3 will be here in 45 seconds. You best believe that Maokai is going to be there to rumble.
And now, like, the more I see the Maokai, maybe I was evaluating the champion a little bit too much. Like, every time I see him and try and think more about him, I thought he was overvalued in my eyes. I still think that he's a little bit too much overvalued, but the fact that he can come back into the game so easily really just goes to show his power, because he was getting bullied to a certain degree, but it never really mattered, because if he's not dead, he always find a way to have value in the game. Also, I think he's opting into Leandris, by the way, not Radiant Bearcher.
Yeah, looking for that full damage setup. They are completely forfeiting the frontline setup here for the side of Raijin. They're saying, hey, you know, we're going to take these fights via picks. We're going to take these fights via damage. We're not particularly concerned about having any kind of front line to put up here beyond the Thresh. Meanwhile, that Rift Herald will crash into mid lane and will pick up another turret.
And also the Dragon getting taken down. It's not going to be a bounty that they can collect. At least they can get some gold back if they get this turret as soon as possible. Akali's coming to respond though. They actually can't take it. That's harsh. Over to the A. They need to find some way to find gold, because they are in a really tough spot right now.
Yeah, now Kenpachi step it up here. They can look for the shutdown out of this Akali, but they've been turned around on in these situations a couple of times already. Instead, the recall is just going to come through for Kausap and Caterpillar, and they're going to just have to take the L here on this play. No opportunity to trade back cross map.
I will say though, like the good thing I feel like for DA is that if the Elder responds soon enough, and realistically should be around the 30-minute mark, that's an opportunity to try and come back into the game. Because realistically, this Cloud Soul is not like it's going to massively benefit the side of Raijin. It's more so on what they get around these timings. And if by some miracle or some way DA gets a team fight that leads into Elder, that is a really good turnaround for them. So that I feel like they should try and play around for that particular like power spike. Now that they are behind.
I particularly like Cloud Soul on Maokai. It gives you this new engage option where now you pop the ultimate, you get the movement speed, and you can kind of set up for yourself by gap closing with that twisting advance. But overall, I do agree. It doesn't give you too much combat power. It really just means that Izzo's going to be able to get fights started a little bit more quickly, a little bit more easily than he would otherwise.
And Akali can move a little bit faster, right? That's also kind of a big worry. Like, Akali now will essentially be dancing in teamfights and dealing a lot of damage. And based on what we've seen from Kenpachi, that's something to be worried about.
For sure. Dude's 4-1. He's got 2 items done already. He's got the most CS in the game, or is at least tied for it in a little 3-way tie there between JDK, Sly, and himself. And, huge threat in these fights, especially against some of the squishier members, which, by the way, includes Kausap, who's only got a Black Cleaver and an Iron Spike Whip, not particularly tanky on this Jarvan.
I can see him getting bursted out by a good combo with the Thresh, Maokai, and Caitlyn. Like, just those 3 champions, I can see them trying to burst out Kausap Jr. with just the amount of damage that they have between themselves. They almost actually steal the big bird.
Just completely taken everything away from the DA Obsidian squad so far is Raijin. They're in the side lanes, calming down a little bit more. Sly getting engaged on here is just gonna get one shot by DK. Still gotta respect that Cinder damage. She's got a lot of splinters. She's starting to scale up, and she will pick up the solo kill there, going up to 3-0. JDK is where all of the eggs have got to be in the DA Obsidian basket.
And I feel like there was a good timing to try and call this out before the solo kill came through. But JDK is in a really good spot when you think about it. Not only because of the kill that we saw, but the rod completed, has the Archangel Staff also completed. So both items that really give you a good boom in your power to try and fight some of the more crucial fights completed for this Syndra. Almost level 16. So her ultimate value is also going to spike really heavily. And one thing that none of these champions have, well, maybe a little bit on the Akali and maybe a little bit on the Thresh, is magic resistance. So the burst damage that this Syndra can try and pull off, especially in fights where they were lacking damage, can really be important for DA and may actually turn around some of those fights in their favor.
Yeah, for sure here. The vegan Syndra build ending up paying off here as Archangels and Rod of Ages both fully stacked, as you said. So going to be at a huge power spike here. We'll see what opts into third, but JDK going to be very strong in these fights. And we've emphasized it before, TDS, not a very tanky frontline here, so Syndra is a threat to everybody. Cowsep, though, definitely getting threatened here. Takes a bunch of damage from Kenpachi, but not going to finish it off. Instead, just going to steal away the red stuff. That is perfect execution down from the Akali. What can DA Obsidian do to capitalize? They're just getting pushed back here. Cowsep, in particular, has got to retreat, and with 40 seconds to go until Dragon, he's got to race back out here.
That was a lot of damage that Cowsep Jr. did take. Luckily, it's still not the Dragon yet, so they can try and come back for this. But I'm kind of not confident that DA can try and fight this anymore. Like, they did so much damage to this Jarvan and barely anything to Raijin.
Absolutely true here. And there's the engage. They're going to go for it anyway. Paradox Creator popping the Dominus. They know that Victor is still topside, and this is their best chance. They've got quickness onto 3 members, going to lock down as many as possible. And now Captain Tay left on his own, but Koi finding an angle to fire over the pull in on a Cowsep, going to pick up 1 kill for the side of Raijin. Tenpachi in a 1 versus 2, going to back on away. Koi now getting outnumbered as well. As Paradox Creator found his way onto Tay, gets the trade back. Now Izzo's on his own. Caterpillar over the wall. This fight is going all over the place, but Sly has arrived to the fight, gets the laser over 3, throws down the Chaos Storm, and nearly deletes the members of TA Obsidian. Caterpillar going to drop, and finally here comes Kenpachi off the back of the TP to clean up the rest of the fight. That's going to be an ace for 1, picked up for Raijin.
And the Thresh sacrifices himself at the end. Yeah, it feels bad for the Thresh to not be in the picture when everyone else is there, but that's not what matters. You get the teamfight victory, you get the damage down, and everyone feeling pretty good in that fight. Kenpachi gets the closing statement when you see the fight because he gets the kills, but I think a huge credit to is only how he played that fight. Huge credit to Sly Red Fox for always being full health, and Koi for not dying.
A chaotic fight around the Dragon Pit. Really looked like it could have swung either way there. Huge play by Sly, though, wandering all the way down from the top side. Gets a huge burst of damage onto the DA squad and takes it for them.
Yep, and with that, it's back to the point that we were talking about. It's the Elder now, the one that probably can salvage for DA. Maybe the Baron as well, if they can steal it. I don't think an actual fight, but stealing the Baron could be one of those ways to try and come back. But the Elder feels like the more straightforward way, because that gives you power to kill people. What you were lacking in that fight, the Elder gives you.
For sure here. So that will definitely produce quite a bit of threat for whatever team is able to secure it. Right now, the Baron is going to be a potential target. Multiple members focusing around top side, trying to set down their vision lines, make sure that they are going to be able to fight for this objective if it does come up. You know, that we said it before, that Cloud Soul doesn't give you too much combat power. DA Obsidian, if they could try to find a good fight around one of these epic monsters, that could be their path back into the game.
Looking at, I would like to see a little bit of the gold difference because we know the general, but between like lanes, I would like to see the gold difference between the champions. I feel like the difference between top lane and jungle just feels so oppressive at this point, and particularly AD carry as well. You have the 2 items on the Caitlyn, almost 2.5, so she's going to be dealing quite a bit of damage. But between the jungler, the top laners and the junglers, that's where you really feel like the biggest brunt of difference is coming through, and that's why I don't see a lot of hope for DA either.
That's really where Raijin's making their money here. They're going to push back out Cowsup again, who's still stuck on 1 item, by the way, as Izzo's working his way towards their 3rd. Just setting up around this Baron. They know they don't even have to start it up. They've got Maokai saplings, an attempted engage from Cowsup. Hook doesn't quite land, so they will get away with it with their live, but just no actual opportunity to get anything started here, and they're going to lose the mid-inner turret just to this continuous push from the carries.
And it's going to keep on happening. Like, they don't have a lot of control over the map. They have some good vision when you look at the top side of the map over of the Baron. They have a couple of wards here and there that allow for them to at least be safe, that nothing like really bad is happening. Even though they don't have any wards straight up in the Baron pit, there's some that at least tell them that nobody's waiting for them in those bushes. But at some point, Raijin is going to force the Baron. They're going to force the play, and that's where you have to be extra scared about how you try to answer, because I don't think that their commitment is that good without like damage or survivability.
For sure. They definitely do not have that kind of big beefy front line that we were hyping them up to have. Their front lines in particular have fallen just so far behind, and they don't really have too much support for it either. All they really have is damage on JDK, who they could find a pick that would certainly be great, but so far Raijin have done a great job of staying grouped up. The only one off on their own is Kenpachi, and Kenpachi is very difficult to lock down.
Exactly, he has teleport, so it's not like he cannot join into the fight. I'm not sure if sending the Syndra to fight the Akali would be the best plan, just because Akali can one-shot her, or maybe not one-shot her, since the Syndra does have a bit of a tankier build, but certainly can put so much of a damper on whatever the Syndra will try to do. Feels like a risky situation there. I was going to comment though, now that Calcer Jr. also got it, they both have the Gore Drinker, so you can kind of say that they are tankier now. Like they will survive a little bit more, 100% at least.
Definitely stronger than they were without it.
Yeah.
So now the pushes continue. It's really just Kenpachi just trying to force their hands in this bottom lane over and over again. The resets have come through. 3rd item now available on the Caitlyn. 3rd item now available on Izzo. They are going to redeploy onto the map, fresh off these power spikes, and fish for an epic monster before too long.
Would they try and play for the trade now that, like, because the timing on the Elder is coming closer and closer, it's just 1 minute now, Baron is up. If they don't force it, would DA try and go for the trade? I think that wouldn't be a bad idea if they can get something when they are this far behind, but I'm not sure if that's worth it.
For sure. I mean, yeah, their objective bounties available, assuming that they can avoid just losing the game off the back of whatever monster ends up going down. So far, they're just trying to pick up whatever they can get out of their own jungle. 30 seconds to go on this Elder, and it does look like that's where Raijin is setting their sights. They're saying, the Baron, optional, but we want to make sure that we get that execute damage and can just force one more fight and close out the game that way.
And I'm glad Raijin thought this way, because I would agree as well. The Elder is way more valuable than the Baron at this point of the game. They don't need the Baron to try and crush into turrets. The Elder, though, gives you the damage. Ooh, Calcer Jr.
Engage attempt from Cowsup. It's going to be flash traded with Sly, but now it's going to be his life traded for nothing, as now Caterpillar has thrown out the quickness, but it's just getting deleted before he can CC anybody. There's the flay back in from Captain Tay, and this is all she wrote for game number 1 TDS. Surely, as the members of DA Obsidian are just getting torn apart here by Izzo, and the team goes dominating on the Maokai, and now in a 5 versus 1 push, Raijin is going to look to crack open the base.
They just used the dragon as perfect bait to try and close out the game. That was so well played for the side of Raijin from start to finish, really. They managed this game out so well. Should be, like, well, Jordan has 10 seconds and Rakan has 2. They're going to respect it.
The game
but
goes
I think
on.
Elder should be there.
Yeah, they're going to choose to take bot lane inhibitor, not leave any Nexus turrets. Or not take any Nexus turrets, rather. Instead, just going to move on over for this Elder Dragon. But DA Obsidian, they cannot rest on their laurels. They've got to race back out here to try to contest for the Elder Dragon, and this is going to be what decides if it ends here or not. Two Caitlyn traps already layered down over the wall from Calcep, but he's just in a 1 versus 3. He's going to get deleted. No Smite Steal available anymore. And now over the wall, Kenpachi looking for an angle on to JDK along with his mid laner, and they are going to blow him up. Double kill picked up for Sly. The remaining members going to fall as well as Caterpillar drops on the other side, and now Void just trying to dodge out on what he can and stay alive, but gonna have to defend against an Elder Dragon 5-man squad of Raijin. They are going to look to take the Nexus here and now.
Calcep couldn't do it, Gordo. He certainly could not steal the Elder Dragon. Now it's the last opportunity. Can the Corporal? Oh, that is a lot of damage.
Yeah, they fight it back. They get the shutdown on the Maokai. A little bit of a moral victory, but Raijin is going to close it out here.
Moral victory, but the actual victory goes to Raijin. They are going to destroy this Nexus, and a really good start to the series for them. I think they play this out super well. You mentioned it in draft where you said they have a lot of win conditions that they can play with, and they did just that. Kenpachi, I played much more for himself than for the team in a lot of those situations, but he carried it out so well. And then putting the X on the Caitlyn ended up paying off because each gank that they gave the Caitlyn gave her more gold and more power. Really well played game overall for Raijin.
Yeah, and in the pregame we were saying, well, where's Izzo going to go? Is he going to go towards the top lane? Is he going to go towards the bottom lane? Who's he going to try to enable? The answer was he couldn't go to either, because he just kept getting forced out to flash in the mid lane, had to just play around mid and just try to scamper up for whatever he could get, but it didn't matter because the top and bot lanes both ended up winning out pretty much on their own, and that leads to a big win for Raijin.
100%. They did a really good job to start the series off in the right foot. Now, a lot of that is going to be what the Obsidian can try and counter back with, like what they can answer with in the draft. I think Maokai, we may see a little bit more focus on the tree in the pick and ban phase, because at the end, I do think that the ultimates, as well as the I think it's untarget ability. Yeah, like that ended up affecting a lot of how the fights went. And even though I still think that there's counters for the Maokai, it's really showing its power. And I'm expecting at least a little bit more focus in the ban phase towards him.
And we'll certainly see how they want to adapt to their game plan for game number 2. We are going to throw it to a quick break here while we get ready for a draft of game 2. We will see you on the other side as, once again, Raijin taking on DA Obsidian. Welcome back, everybody. We are right back into draft for game number 2. Raijin with the upset winning game number 1 of the Instalock Maokai. Once again for game number 2. TDS, they're taking none of your advice.
I have 2 questions. First, how did Raijin get Blue Side again? Second, how did Raijin get Maokai again? That is 2 things that I understand absolutely nothing. Like, I understand the Annie ban. I understand the Viego ban to a certain degree. Do you really need to ban the Kindred, though? Well, that's just me. Maybe I'm blanking on something.
Well, it was a run back for the first 7 selections. All 6 bans are the same, and the Maokai is the same.
Yep.
The Mumu going to change things up here for DA Obsidian. We'll see if it's support or jungle. Folks, I haven't played more Mumu jungle lately. It could be.
Say though. Just quickly, like, we'll say though, it's the same logic behind Jarvan or Rakan. So you still keep that in the same way. The only thing that is changing now, the series, so more of a hyper scaling AD carry. You have a much more consistent damage thread. It's still a lot of magic damage though.
Yeah, Caterpillar saying, "Get me off the bench, guys. I can't play Rakan again. Put me on an AD carry, please." Going to lock in the Zeri. Here's the Caitlyn pick, though. Could it just be the run back from Raijin? I mean, their comp last game worked out pretty well for them. I would not mind seeing the Thresh again up against this Zeri.
Yep.
Of course, you know, the traditional pairings with the Caitlyn are stuff like the Lux, but you know, you pick what you could play over here in the MSL.
I will say though, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like, it's not like it went bad. They played a really good game. So all in all, I'm not against this. I was thinking Karma wouldn't be a bad option because of the shield value and also to keep even more pressure down there in the bot lane. But based on what we've seen from Raijin, I think having that Thresh is a little bit more comfortable for them. And it's also a pairing that has worked for them. So I'm not against it. The Lulu, pretty much just saying that Seri Lulu will be the bot lane. The Amumu will be the jungler, more than likely. And trying to give resources to the Seri, not a bad choice. The only issue that I have with this is that Amumu in the jungle is a little bit riskier than Amumu in the support position. Because you need to make your ganks work, you need to get to that level 6. And his economy is not the same. Well, it's kind of similar to that of the support. But his access towards a straight up gold, like from the passive, from the support item, is not there. So he's going to need to farm, taking far away from the actual farmers like the mid lane or the AD carry is not the most ideal thing. And then you also have to consider that he doesn't get the same access towards lane experience like he does in the support position. So that may also affect the amount of times that he's able to get that like ultimate as quickly as possible. I think that if he gets behind, it's going to be super hard for him to come back in any meaningful way.
Definitely something to be cognizant of here, and they're going to add the Akali to the ban list. That was an Olaf in game number 1. The Jax is also up now as well, as the size of Raijin have chosen to switch up their phase 2 bans. They no longer need to ban that Xayah. They're instead going to focus towards the mid lane and try to pinch out the pool from JDK, who was quite successful on the Syndra in that game number 1 and is looking to lock it in once again for game number 2.
It's going to be a lot of magic damage, though. That's a ton of magic damage that you're playing with and can be a little bit risky. I would really like the Black Shield here. It's going to be Morgana mid if it gets big. But it's a Black Shield that can deny so much magical damage on the side of the Obsidian, also the amount of CC that they have. So for protecting the scaling is not bad. And I was going to comment, like, the Syndra just made it so that there's way too much magical damage already, and you have to pick an AD top laner 100% here. I'm guessing it's going to be the Jax because I feel like Raijin should take the Olaf here for the CC. I think that his value against the amount of CC that the Obsidian has is probably better, but they're going to take the Jax instead. Makes sense.
All right, so looking at this Jax to take into the top lane, going to be another carry pick here for the member of Krypton that has been so crucial towards this run, but no, they're actually going to swap it up to the Jace for Kenpachi here as their blind top laner, taking the Ziggs to the mid lane up against the Syndra. Hovering a Sion here. I've seen Jace take it into Sion a lot in the meta more recently, but I do like Sion as kind of these weak side top laner, just trying to pick up your farm. Even if they do manage to kill you, you still get to clear out the wave. I still like him in that role. We'll see if that's going to be a conscious choice to play a little bit more towards a mid bot here from DA.
And it's going to be the Sion at the end. I like the Sion here because GA feels like a team that does like to play for that straight team fight. Like they were trying to force fights as a team. They were consistently bringing down their top laner to answer to a lot of those potential fights. So I think the Sion here for their logical style makes much more sense. Now, it runs the risk that if they get behind, it's easy to try and exploit them. They don't have a lot of like control in certain situations because the champion that will need to face check will be either Sion or the Amumu. Lulu cannot face check. If she face checks, she's essentially dead. And that means that you almost always need to have him on the spot to help you team fight. Which, in case, Jace, if he's left alone on the side lane, can take the turrets by himself, deals a lot of damage, and in a 1v1 can take it to most champions, especially if the Jace opts into the core drinker like variation that is now popular in the meta for some reason. That means that his sustain is a little bit higher compared to to where he was previously, and he can try and survive for a little bit longer.
That's definitely true. We'll see what they're able to do. Once again, DA Obsidian ends up coming out with the big, beefy front line, looking to set up for front to backs, this time with Zeri. So a second kind of true damage dealer coming through here for DA. Meanwhile, Raijin, they're running it back with virtually the same composition. Like the Jace, kind of a different change of pace versus what the Akali brings to the table. You know, a little bit more poke, a little bit less assassination potential. And, you know, the Ziggs, a little bit of a change up in the mid lane as well versus that Victor. But same general idea. He's there to clear waves. He's there to represent a little bit of additional AoE damage. And once again, it's going to be up to Raijin to just try to build themselves up some early leads, play through this Caitlyn Thresh bot lane, should feel more comfortable leaving top lane alone this time. And, you know, I'm sure that Izzo would like to have a little bit of a more competitive early game this time around. You know, I'm sure he'd like to get to participate and not just be constantly running for his life.
I would say, though, like thinking a little bit more about it as well, when you think about the amount of poke that Raijin has, you really need to have tanky champions in this composition from DA. Like, if the Amumu gets behind and the Sion is not close by, he's another sitting duck that this poke from the Ziggs, the Jace, even the Caitlyn and then the Maokai as well, could end up hurting quite a lot. Like, the reason why I'm kind of scared for the Sion in this position is that he's mandatory to be in the spot with the rest of the team. Like, he can never be separated if they are behind because he's the one that needs to face check. And I'm just getting convinced more and more that Raijin's Calm is going to be able to not only control, but never allow DA to really get a good opportunity to team fight, because of how much control they have with traps, with bombs, with poke, with even just the Thresh having that, like the disengage potential with the Flay, and then Maokai with all his kit as well.
Yeah, love me a good old poke comp, and Raijin have drafted themselves one for sure here. And I mean, I really just still have to be looking towards Kenpachi. You know, they've kind of seeded him a winning lane at this point, and, you know, that is a strategic choice by DA Obsidian, right? To just say, all right, you know, Jace is going to get X amount ahead, but Sion is only going to be able to get X amount behind, right? He's going to at least be able to make things close to even. He's going to be able to pick up his CS. He's going to be able to be a tanky frontliner later on, and we're going to look to play through Zeri and Syndra. But, you know, Kenpachi's done such a good job of building up his own leads in game number 1 and also in their, you know, big run through the wildcard slot there, that I would be a little bit concerned giving him such a hard winning matchup up here.
It's a risk, and I understand what they are giving it. I'm like you. I feel like Kenpachi has been such a highly performing top laner so far that giving him the opportunity to carry out the game feels a little bit way too risky in my eyes. But it's also the strategy that a lot of top teams have done during the years. Like, they know their weak point. They realize that if they play this way against a better top laner, they have a lot of chances to win the game. Because, I mean, as long as your top laner is still an actual champion in the game, you can play through your stronger points in the rest of the map. And I think JDK already showed that he was a strong point for the Obsidian. Bot lane, we don't really know how strong they are because the previous game was such a weird play for them, since they really didn't have any damage or anything like that. Like, they were bots to accommodate for the team.
And that's their marksman's playing Rakat, you know.
Exactly. It's an unknown quantity as of now. And I think that this playstyle at least will give us a better outlook on what to expect from DA.
For sure. Well, we're going to throw it to a quick break here while we get loaded on to the Rift for game number 2. But we will see you guys on the other side as Raijin looks to go up 2-0 over Divine Ascension Obsidian. Welcome back, everybody. So tonight's series, the MetaShift League, where we have got Raijin taking on DA Obsidian. We are going to be looking for Raijin to try to take themselves to match point here, or DA to tie us up at 1-1. A 5-man squad of Raijin, though, moving in through this river, could find Caterpillar if he's not careful.
I think not much is going to happen. Yeah, they have the vision. They know. Sadly, they won't get anything with this level 1 except vision. So pretty good for both sides in a way. I still like the attempt from Raijin. I think being aggressive with that is good. And they also stopped Iso's back, so could turn into a start that Iso didn't want to start. Like, he probably wanted to back and go topside, I think, or get lens. This means now that Iso has to opt into a different pathing potential here.
True. Oh, nicely played by Caterpillar there. Does end up giving a little bit of an advantage towards Cowsep, who now knows where Izzo is going to be starting up. Going to be mirrored starts here, both on the bottom side. Both can be pathing up towards top. See if that ends up affecting that matchup.
Well, it's not a bad matchup to try and attempt, and having both damages like magical and physical could turn the make it easier to try and get the kill into the Scion. But I don't know why I think they probably wanted to be a little bit more aggressive early on onto this spot lane. Could have been a level 2 gang as well, potentially with the start from the Maokai, but it's not looking like that's going to be the case.
For sure here, Sly getting a nice little bit of damage there. Going to see how he's going to be able to fare in his second matchup against JDK's Syndra. Meanwhile, this top lane matchup is going to be on to watch. TDS's Paradox going to be on the back foot from the start here. Did end up giving Kenpachi a big way into the lane last game with a very early Renekton gank. We'll see how much impact that really had here as they get to play maybe a little bit more even footing this time around.
No, as long as he doesn't take horrible traits that make him go out of lane and he can still farm, I think Paradox is going to be fine. Look at the health bar. He hasn't taken as much damage as he probably could have taken already. So for the start, I think doing a really good job and taking even better traits onto Kenpachi.
For sure here, gonna be a little bit before that Jace can really hurt, and Kalsup, having cleared out the red buff 5 camps down, moving his way towards the top side. See if Izzo is interested in something similar here. I don't think they did. They threw a sapling over the wall, so they see Kalsup coming in, and Kenpachi knows he's got to play careful.
Easy way to realize if someone is close by or not. Those MIPs are really effective in keeping vision and doing all that. Really good job for Izzo there. And now maybe even potential... Okay, no, there's no chance. They essentially know that Izzo's up there thanks to the lance. To the Scryer Bloom.
Oh, a little bit of an invade attempt coming through here. Paradox could have potentially stolen away that blue buff. Doesn't end up getting onto it, but Izzo, he's no stranger to getting bullied, but he is getting bullied again. Paradox chasing him down, will get away with the Bramble Smash and manages to keep himself safe. Getting still chased by Kalsup, though. Gonna have to find his way all the way to the turret as Void gets hooked in the bottom lane, and Koi is keeping on the pressure along with Captain Tay.
Oh, the trap was a little bit misplaced, so that means that at the end they cannot turn that hook into a flash potentially for Void. I was actually just following on Kalsup Jr., not in the minimap, and on the side to see if he flashes in to force a flash off of Izzo. He doesn't end up taking that, so Izzo doesn't lose his flash this time around. He's still keeping up himself in terms of farm and doing a really good job at not falling that far behind, even if they bully him.
Definitely true. Kenpachi, not with any kill pressure yet here, but is building up a pretty solid CS lead. We'll be up about half a wave here. Falling lower and lower in health, though. Gonna have to be careful, especially at this angle. Taking a trade up against Paradox with such a lower health bar, but does come out better for it. Really avoids the shout, avoids the decimate, avoids every little bit that he needs to, and will be able to stay alive.
See, as long as Paradox doesn't take enough damage that he will die, even though he did take quite a bit of damage there, everything should be fine. He's keeping himself up in a good way in farm, not losing that much, and already also was able to bully out the Maokai, which shouldn't really happen if the Jace keeps control over the lane.
Definitely true, yeah. Kenpachi, he bounced the wave there. He didn't have the power to keep it pushed in. Nice interrupt, though, there on the Decimating Smash will be pretty important for Kenpachi to be able to get out of there, and right away, Raijin, they're the first ones onto the dragon once again. And, even without the new top laner, they've been pretty good at playing all synchronized with each other on the bottom side of the map, too. And here they are once again. This is their 6th dragon in a row, if you count the Elder from last game.
Yeah, doing a really good job at keeping the objective count in their favor. The only thing they're realistically missing is that first herald. Oh, okay, it's fine. The only thing they're missing is that first herald in the first game, and that's about it. Every other objective so far, they've gotten control over it. Oh wait, actually the Baron as well, because nobody got the Baron if I'm not wrong. But apart from that, every other objective has been in their favor.
For sure here, there's a nice hook in by Captain Tay. Is going to force the cleanse out of Caterpillar, now going to be down one of those crucial summoner spells in these upcoming fights. Ultra Shock Laser trying to clear out the wave, trying whatever they can to not end up losing a turret plate here, but it should drop if Koi auto attacks it at all, but going to be looking for the poke damage instead.
Yeah, it's not a lot that they are trying to approach there. The combo hasn't been the best setup yet for the side of Raijin when you look at how they play that bot lane. Even though they get a good advantage, a good hook, they haven't really set up the combo between the two champions really well. So it's not like they've gotten a huge chunk or the flash out, but that early cleanse can end up turning into a gank from the Maokai that just turns into a kill.
Absolutely can. The situation is right. Once again, Maokai finds himself up towards that top side. Cowsup on the bottom here. Doesn't look like Paradox is going to be willing to step up at all, though. Just playing safe, making sure he's going to be able to pick up whatever he can, but he's really getting denied even XP at this range by Kenpachi. So really nice setup here from the Jace. Nice trade here as well, going to knock him pretty far away, back out under that turret, and now Paradox really probably just going to have to get out of here and go in for the unstoppable onslaught back to lane.
Yeah, this is becoming the risky point of kind of the lane that you play with the Jace, where now that he has not even a first item, but a first component build, he can begin just harassing you, dealing a lot of damage. And he doesn't take that much damage either because he has the Vampiric Scepter. So he's just going to get the health back just by out-attacking people. Really nice. Ooh, bot lane.
Cowsup, deep flank here, has access to Curse of the Sad Mummy, throws it down, locked down on a Koi, and that's going to be first blood picked up for DA Obsidian. Nicely pathed there, finds their way into the bottom lane.
Really good play coming in from Cowsup Jr. No vision. Nobody had vision down there. So Cowsup Jr. just walks by, gets behind them, and gets a really easy ultimate. Really nice setup that they had. And they punished the Caitlyn really effectively, especially because she didn't even have the cleanse. So it's like, as long as you get on top of her, she's dead. There's enough CC to be able to kill her.
For sure. That is all it's going to take, and that's going to get a lead right back into Caterpillar's pockets. I mean, he was down about 10 CS for quite a bit here, but now is going to actually find themselves ahead by a couple off the back of that kill. Koi have to try to scrape back what they can as they return to lane.
Well, at least they get a free ping ward, so you have to take your victories. As small as they are, you have to take them. Oh, Cowsup Jr.?
Yeah, going to get found here by Sly, and they're calling over Kenpachi as well, so that's an easy kill. And the smite away, I do think it was picked up by Cowsup, so he gets the gold, and Paradox is coming in, gonna flash in and ult away just to pick up the Rift Herald. And you know what? Respect, he ends up with it, he gets his way out of there. He is completely out of lane for a while, though. Kenpachi's gonna get some turret plates off this for sure.
Yeah, just for people that are watching us, I'm gonna say, do not do this if you're playing an actual game, because I can assure you that's not worth it. Like, no matter how many like fancy points you get, that's not worth it. The amount of gold that you get, it's not worth it. But they did get the Herald, so small victories in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, especially now that you get so much gold up front from the Herald, it's like, you know, you got most of your value already just by smiting it. Good job, Cowsup. Oh, now here's a move on to DK. Ooh. Nice stun there, going to stop the engage. Paradox has returned, has lost an extra turret plate, does have the Rift Herald, so probably could use it to funnel a little bit of gold into himself, and he's going to need to because he's falling behind this Jace.
Yeah, he can get back the gold. Ooh, that was close.
Yeah, good flash there from Sly. Avoids the Curse of the Sad Mummy from Cowsup. That's a crucial cooldown now. Going to be used. And there's that Rift Herald in the top lane. So 2.5
plates.
He gets
the gold back from what he lost from the Jace. That's it.
3 plates. You know what? That's a lot of gold. He's probably pretty close to, if not ahead of the Jace at this point, off the back of that. So, you know what? Paradox ends up making it worth. Yeah, he's down like 300 gold, but in the Sion and a Jace matchup, you'll take that.
Yeah, like the for that value, it's good. The issue is that that's not the value that you worry about. But at least this way you can kind of make it so that the Sion doesn't feel bad if he leaves the lane. It's a really interesting fight. Oh, that is a lot of damage.
Nice Mega Inferno Bomb there. Hook just barely doesn't land. Wait, now it's going to Cowsup, but he doesn't have Curse of the Sad Mummy. Getting knocked back into the trap, getting executed down by Koi. Nicely played by Raijin, and they are keeping this dragon streak going. They're going to get themselves their second one this game. Now Kenpachi still brawling with Paradox Creator, gonna knock him down.
And it turns out that if the Mumu goes in onto Koi and doesn't have ultimate, the Mumu dies. That was such a good setup that the side of Raijin ends up getting, and a huge amount of damage from the 6. Yeah, we had a little bit of issues, so we're just trying to fix it as soon as possible.
At least it was just League of Legends and not the whole computer this time,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we don't have to criticize our production anymore than that. So that's the good part. I will say, like, the damage from the 6 in that fight, that was so much from such a safe distance. Like, it was, I think, a bouncing bomb as well as a Mega Inferno bomb, and just that essentially took out the Lulu and took out the Seri to a certain degree, and they could not help the Amumu at all.
And also, Amumu, I wonder if he almost forgot that he used the ultimate in mid lane earlier on to force out the flash there from Sly, because he finds himself at the middle of 4 people, and it's like, it's a great ultimate angle if you have the ultimate, but to not have it at that time. And we are right back, baby, right into the game. Scoreline. It actually looks like there was a 1-for-1 in the bottom lane. Koi and Caterpillar are both dead.
1-for-1? Who died?
Koi and Caterpillar.
Oh wait, Koi died? Yeah, like I was looking and Caterpillar was dead, but I blanked on Koi.
Koi respawned first, which means he died first. But
my distraction took the best of me in that sense. But so 1-for-1 in that sense, not the worst, since Caterpillar is a little bit probably a bit more behind compared to Koi because of the kills and the assists. But I think it's pretty cool. Like, that is not the difference that would salvage or lose you the game. Not like what is happening in topside, which now becomes a much bigger issue for the Sion. It's Blade of the Ring King Jace, actually. So I think a much better tool to deal with the Sion.
Yeah, definitely minimizing for the side lane pressure here. Sly going to get engaged on here, but there's the Dark Passage followed by the Unleashed Power, but it's just not going to be enough. Cowsep has an extra bandage toss here. Is he going to use it? Will he be able to collapse in? No, lands it onto Captain Tay instead, who's now in a 1 versus 3 in his own right. He is not going to be able to get out of here. No flash available, but does have Koi raining down some damage over the wall. Not going to be a trade back, though. Captain Tay goes down 4-3 on the scoreboard. DA Obsidian, they are not out of this yet.
They are not out, but I gotta give respect to Captain Tay there. Did what a support should always do. Sacrifice his life for the mid lane. Mid lane should always stay alive, much more so than the support. Really nice there, saving the 6, and also trying to keep it so that the 6 can come back as soon as possible and wave clear the mid lane, so they don't lose anything meaningful in terms of just overall gold in the map.
Ooh, I didn't get to see it. I wonder if Kenpachi got that 4th turret plate before plating fell in top lane. Was definitely trying to race for it. I think he barely got there before Paradox's TP finished. Now, going to look to take out this turret. This is going to be first turret gold for Raijin, and I just don't think Paradox can do anything to stop it.
I don't think Kenpachi cares that much about the turret. He just wants to harass.
He might just want it there to continue denying CS and giving him the opportunity to bully Paradox.
I respect it if he does that. I would agree 100% on that choice. Like, being able to deny the Sion any opportunity to track forward or anything like that, it's more valuable. Oh, Slide?
Yeah, there was definitely an era of League of Legends where, like, that was the move, right? Where everybody realized, I feel like season 3, season 4, it's like, hey, if you just don't take the turret, it'll just deny CS for forever. And then that was what everybody did for like multiple years until they were like, you do get a lot of gold from the turret and you can't invade the jungle if you take it out.
Well, and first turret gold is now even more gold than before. So you're kind of more incentivized into that. Do you know that now it seems like, oh, wait a second, they're killing.
Well, yeah, and actually Kenpachi getting ganked here. Has 1v2'd before, but doesn't look like he's in a good place to do it here. Nice flash away for the decimating smash, but finds himself right into a wall. Can't get out of here in time. He does get the movement speed boost from switching forms. Here comes the mid laner from both sides. DK going to be able to finish that one off, but now here's the re-engage from Izzo, trying to take out Cowsep, who will drop to red box. So 1-for-1, 1-for-2 as Izzo drops, 2-for-2 as Paradox burns down to the Leandry's damage from Sky, and it's going to end up being all that. Caterpillar, though, coming in, popping down the ultimate flashback from Sly to get back towards Captain Tay. These Dark Passages have been critical for Raijin this game.
This and the last game, pretty much. both games having saved the life from a couple of members quite consistently. Sly Red Fox doesn't die, 30 seconds for Dragon. This is a really good opportunity now for DA Obsidian to try and set up themselves, but the fact that the 6 doesn't die means that they can get control back over the river really effectively. The Jay is still really strong, has teleport so he can go to the side lane and then come back if he wants to. It seems like they are not going to give the chance even. They're just going straight for the Dragon, everyone from the side of Raijin. No Paradox Creator though.
For sure, doesn't have access to the TP, will certainly not be here, but Kenpachi, you know, he's got his lead. He's nearly gotten his turret, although not quite there yet. Koi getting engaged on by Jay. Going to be able to get out of there. Now there's the engage from Cowset, maybe a little bit further than he would like. A little bit outnumbered there for a moment, but Kenpachi is just going to back away.
Koi's in a really bad spot though. Like, Koi is really far away. Has to be extra careful.
And getting marked by JDK as well. Can't really find a safe spot. And looks like I saw a little hop there. I think he took the 90 caliber net over the thin wall. Now going to be able to walk around and rejoin the rest of the team. It is going to be a full-on 5v5 though, as this has been enough time for Paradox to be able to come down and rejoin the rest of the squad. And front to back, so we talked about it. This is DA is built for. If they can find their angle in before they get poked too heavily, Kenpachi and Sly going to look to rain this damage on through. There's the flank. Cowset gets a 4-man Curse of the Sad Mummy, and stepping forward now is Caterpillar, but the return damage with the Mega Inferno is huge from Sly Red Fox, and Raijin actually managed to turn it around in an even 5-on-5 engagement. The damage coming in from Koi is just too substantial, and now Kenpachi can step up and look to clean it up against these squishies. It's a 2-for-3 fight so far.
Really nice.
Blast is gonna call it up against Caterpillar, and now the chase down onto JDK with the numbers advantage. Raijin is happy to keep chasing it down. Can they finish off this Syndra? Looks like they're gonna end up calling this one off, but now with some alone time on the mid lane inner turret, Sly going to look to gather even more of a gold lead.
Yeah, I think they're too scared of the Syndra, and rightfully so. She deals quite a bit of damage, but that team fight coming in from Raijin was amazing. And in all honesty, that was super smart from Calzip Jr. I thought that was a game-winning flank that he pulled up there. Sled Red Fox is dead. He's just dead. That flank that Calzip Jr. pulled off, I thought that was game-winning because it was a 4-man. He played it with the blasting plan from the Chemtech Rift that gives you the extra range. So that was perfect setup for him to be on top of 4 champions. That should have been game winning, but they don't have.
Hello?
Are we
Hello,
live
sir.
still?
All right, we're back in. Okay, well, we definitely lost audio for a little bit there because we didn't have Benjamins in the chat, but we're back. And
yeah, just a quick TLDR: good flank, bad fight, no damage, Raijin win.
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit there to Izzo with a really nice Nature's Grasp, holds down members like Caterpillar to stop them from being able to go in and deal the damage. And as well, Void doesn't manage to find an angle to Wild Growth anybody. You would have loved to Wild Growth Cowsep in the middle of there and knock everybody up. Somehow just can't make it happen. I'm willing to just assume that that's from Nature's Grasp as well.
I think that Nature's Grasp and then also dying quite quickly. Like, he got hit by the ultimate from the 6 as well as the bouncing grenade once again, and then a Peacemaker, if I'm not wrong. So just took the full front of the damage from everyone.
Absolutely true. Raijin, they're going to keep their dragon streak going. They are now on Soul Point off the back of that fight win. Not a too crazy of a gold lead, though, just a shy under 3K. They're going to look to get that a little bit higher in upcoming fights, but got to be a huge momentum boost to be able to win a 5v5 like that. We were calling out, these are the kind of fights that DA should be able to win, but just a couple of things working out the right way there for Raijin wins them the fight instead.
Exactly. The margin of error is really small for both sides. So the fact that one gets the better victory off of the previous fight is just so important for Raijin. And their composition doesn't stop scaling. So getting these advantages is going to make or, well, not make or break, but certainly make their game much better. JDK.
Oh, that's the lockdown. Oh, the combo there with the Mega Inferno Bomb. JDK has lost all of his HP. He's just going to get basically solo killed off the back of Sly's damage. Big shout out to Izzo there for the Nature's Grasp once again, but just demolishing that Syndra and taking out the strongest member of DA Obsidian.
Another shutdown for the 6 Sly Red Fox, feeling quite comfortable with the lead that he has been able to get, and also one of the main reasons that you get to consistently push turrets on the side of Raijin. Like, this turret will melt as soon as he gets on top of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in Kenpachi, 2 items down. Black Cleaver plus Blade of the Rune King. This is the best tank shredding one-on-one build you can go for on the Jace, and is just really putting the pressure on a Paradox Creator's health bar.
What if he went Kraken Slayer? Is that better? Does that mean that he can one-shot, like, well, not one-shot, but kill tanks much quicker?
You know, certainly could here. Is Cowsep going to find Kenpachi, who's going to get locked down? Can he take this? He definitely can't. He is going to burn down eventually. Shout out to Aegis Esports for the raid coming through here. Ooh. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's MetaShift playoff game.
Especially since you're going to be hearing a lot from us soon enough.
Ooh, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah, the production announcement incoming, supposedly.
We're waiting for that too, yeah. We're also waiting for that.
All right, but Raijin, though, you know, I'm shocked here. We were talking a little bit of trash before the stream started, TDS. I really did not think Raijin would be able to keep this streak going. It's a miracle that they're in these playoffs at all. And the miracle just keeps on coming as DA Obsidian on the back foot here, at risk of going down 0-2 up against this Raijin squad that they chose as their playoff opponents.
In all justice, oh, that was really close. In all sense, I do agree that Raijin was the more likely. Oh, wait, Cowsep?
Oh, going in for the engage once again. Lands the follow-up. Bandage toss. Doesn't have Curse of the Sad Mummy, though. It's coming up in like a second, TDS, and it's up now, but it's too late.
Yeah, went in a little bit too early, maybe to try and just make them fear the Amumu, just in case. But that opportunity was one of the best ones to go for Curse of the Sad Mummy. Now they can try and layer out the poke. Bad thing, or one thing though good for DA is that there's no 6 ultimate either. So a lot of the poke is a little bit down.
Absolutely here, setting up here. Cowsep is going to aggro the dragon. They need to stop this soul from going over to the side of Raijin. The shock blasts are coming in. The bouncing bombs are so strong here. Raijin is so much stronger in this fight than they were previously, and the poke is actually landing this time. Paradox is down to a third of HP. Cowsep gets another 4-man ultimate, and this time Caterpillar has the opportunity to actually fire through the damage. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but Izzo's up too far, and he's going to drop as soon as he goes in. Double kill comes through for JDK, and it is now a 3 versus 4. The step up here from Raijin. They don't want to give up their soul. They want to be able to keep on fighting for it, but the TP back in from Paradox should be all she wrote for it. He's going to look to rejoin this fight. Doesn't have the ultimate, but he's going to find himself face to face with Koi, who has to flash back out. Those giant blast cones make all the difference. And the shock blast nearly steals it, but Cowsep will smite it down, will end the streak of no dragons for DA Obsidian, and will deny the soul from going over to Raijin.
Yeah, this time around they do play the team fight like they needed to, even though in the previous situation we saw an opportunity for that Curse of the Sad Mummy to be massive. Cowsep Jr. still finds another opportunity to make it be massive. I don't know how he does it, how consistently he's able to get on top of Koi, but it's not the first time that he just sends the bandage toss and it hits the Caitlyn in the face, and that just sets up for a 4-man. This time around they get the combo down, they get the damage down. Iso doesn't survive, doesn't get enough damage to kill the Lulu before she does anything, and that means that they are able to get the win in this fight. It's still not turning around the game completely, but it's denying the soul for another 4 minutes. It's denying the Elder from spawning for another 5 minutes. And that's really, really important to try and deny from Raijin, to not get complete control over the map.
Definitely is here. And there is going to be the siege in the top side area. They're going to look to try to clear out these waves and set up for Baron Raijin. You know, their dragon streak's over, and that definitely hurts. Very hard to build up. They were at, what were they at? They're at 8 dragons in a row there, and they lost the 9th to DA Obsidian. So that is going to be rough. And JDK solo killing Kenpachi would also be rough, but he's going to manage to flash away and stay alive with JDK spotted on the bottom side. They are going to look to start up this Baron. TPs are available for both of the solo laners who were just trading back and forth, but Raijin, they're getting a little antsy. They're backing away as the TP comes back in from JDK to rejoin the rest of the team. Mega Inferno Bomb nearly takes Void out of the game, and the hook back in on to Kalsef Jr. They want to just blow up this Amumu and get themselves an opportunity to Baron, but scatter the weak. Gonna push back Captain Trey and mean that they cannot chase any farther.
They took way too much damage there, and honestly, I don't know how Void was so close to dying and still didn't end up dying. The pink ward doesn't get the ward, right?
No, they don't see it. They don't realize the provision. They got pink wards on either side, but neither one is picking up the ward. JDK and Caterpillar, they're coming up. Okay, now they know for sure, though, that DA smells what's cooking. They know what's going on. Ultra Shock Laser lands, but the hook lands back on a Caterpillar. As well, Kalsef cannot flash over the wall while he's tangled up in the roots, and the Baron is going to go over to Raijin as Kalsef gets executed down by a headshot from Koi. As here comes Paradox now, trying to frontline, trying to get the fight started, but there's a flanking member from Raijin, and it's Kenpachi to knock him back into the wall and have Izzo and Koi lead the charge in to try to take out this tanky Scion. He's down at a sliver of HP, but has managed to stay alive, but Mega Inferno Bomb is going to close it out. 2 kills go over to Raijin, and they're going to get the Baron as well.
And all the setup, all the time they took to finally be able to set themselves up to get that Baron Bomb. Even though the ward was there, I still don't understand how that doesn't get vision when it's not even on the tip of the Baron pit. It's more centered than that. Still doesn't matter. They set it up perfectly. They did a lot of damage in that fight, and they secured the Baron and a couple of kills. Raijin, once again, as a unit, working really well to set themselves up to be ahead in the game and now be closer to closing it out. They will lose the mid lane turret, though, I think.
Yeah, no. Control wards, man. How do they work? But it doesn't end up making a difference there. You know, a good call by Izzo. Once again, it's the Nature's Grasp that stops everything. Good setup from the death sentence to put Caterpillar in a position, but also crucially hits Kalsep and means that he can't get back into Baron to actually even attempt the steal.
Exactly, it's just really difficult for Kalsep Jr. He didn't have flash either, so even if he did get in, it was a one-way trip. But more than likely ended up dying either way. But the biggest issue there is that there was never an opportunity for them to even be close to fight the dragon. It's something we talked about in draft. They don't have ways to get control over the river consistently compared to how Raijin does. Like, they have a great straight up 5v5 team fighting potential with their composition, but trying to get control over objectives over river is so difficult for them because traps exist, the bombs from the Six, the big potential from the Thresh, then the Maokai Mist as well. It's just really difficult to walk in if they don't have control initially. And keeping it is even harder. Ooh, Jace.
Ooh, Caterpillar diving in. Kenpachi's here as well. Nice dodge out there on the unstoppable onslaught from the Scion. It also dodges the decimating smash. He's surviving against so much, but will eventually drop in this 1 versus 3. But this has bought so much time for Koi and Sly to just burst through the mid lane, take that inhibitor, and back on away.
Exactly. They traded their life of the top laner for the inhibitor, and they can even go for a little bit more here. I think DA will try to get this dragon, but in the meantime, they may lose the top lane turret. Like, I don't think Syndra is enough to protect it from Caitlyn and Six, particularly.
We lose 1 dragon, and we no longer care about dragons. It's going to be turrets are our best friend now as they're going to move forward, nearly locking down JDK. Izzo so incredibly low here. Nice dodge with the twisting advance. These guys just barely avoiding every skill shot coming in from DAO, and they're going to get themselves the top inhibitor turret as well. A huge gold advantage for Raijin on this play.
Izzo flashed in and failed onto JDK. That's really unlucky because that kill could have turned into the inhibitor. Still, they did get the top lane turret. They still get a lot of gold thanks to this Baron buff push. Yes, they lose the soul, but like the soul in the previous game, like the Cloud Soul, this is one of the souls that you don't really worry that much about because the value is not that high. So it's not like you're really sad if you lose it on the side of Raijin.
Definitely true here, and they're a long way off from you know, DA actually being able to convert those dragons into anything. So yeah, definitely not too worried about the lack of chem tech going to be at their backs here. They are much happier with even more gold, even more damage. Muramana now done for Kenpachi. Very close to having a third item done on Koi. Void Staff completed for Sly. They are so much stronger now coming into this next fight, and they're at risk of just being able to close out here.
Will they be able to do it with the next Baron or before that? It's kind of my main question with Raijin here. I think DA, it's hard for them to protect against Baron buff. They don't have enough wave clear, even if JDK is just consistently pushing. Like, I don't think they have enough pushing power there.
Ooh, the hook lands on the concept again. Here's Mega Inferno on the burn. Might just be enough. Did he just level up? But he's going to go down anyway to Kenpachi. The extra bit of HP, it just doesn't matter, as the Shock Blast is going to take out the little mummy. And now 5 versus 4, pushing onto the base. Raijin looking for an opportunity to end it right here and move up to match point. Clearing out this wave, ready to take at the very least the top lane inhibitor. Here comes 12th Kenpachi pushing through the mid.
There's still a way to engage fights though. Sion is still up. He's still tanky enough. Could be something to try and force a fight onto the side of Raijin, but it doesn't seem like they are going to play it that risky.
Well, they are playing it as safe and secure as they need to. They've lost a fight or two in their time. They know that they are not so firmly in the lead. And something else to say here, you know, it's... Yes, there are 8 turrets to 0, so they are massively ahead. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's easy to miss that and see that it's 15-12 in the kill score and think you're not quite as ahead as you truly are. As here comes Paradox Creator. He certainly feels like he could take this fight. Nature's Graph's going to lock them down, but it looks like it's just going to be the disengaged. Mega Inferno Bomb only lands onto the Scion. Raijin are going to back away.
And nobody dies. That's why I say that there was an opportunity to try and force the engage. The engage doesn't come through though, so nothing like bad ends up happening. I will say though, they did commit a couple of ultimates that could end up mattering for the Baron if they do opt into fighting it. It's still up. Nobody has a lot of vision around it, so it's an objective to keep in mind just in case.
Yeah, the thing is, these guys build so much CDR that they're going to be back up here really soon. 3/4 back up for Sly's ultimate, 50% back up for Izzo's. Hook lands there on to Calcep. They're going to knock him back in. At the very least, just look to chunk out a fair bit of HP with some of these bouncing bombs. He will be chunked out, and he will back on away. Now, Mega Inferno Bomb's already back up.
Yeah, Maokai ult almost back up. The one that will not be back up for a fight is Threshes, so you're still down in that regard. But looks like they are going to go for it anyway. Amumu went back, so it's not like he's going to be soon for this fight. I think they can rush it before he comes in.
Yeah, they're really going to get a Baron just for about a 3rd HP chunk onto Calcep, although DAO now know that it's going down. They've canceled the recall. Calcep is coming back in. He's going to get locked down, and he's not going to be able to get in time. And now the hook in turn, although a little bit of an alley-oop there, just switches back over to the other side of the wall. Will be able to stay safe and avoid going down, but now just forced to back away. JDK one-on-one against 12. Kenpachi actually takes him out.
I think Apache thought that he was dead, and he opted to try and take the trade instead of just dying himself, which is why he flashed in to get the kill. Wasn't enough damage though, and that means that now they cannot push much more heavily on the side of Raijin. Yes, they do have the Baron. Yes, they have the first move into the Dragon, but they don't have the damage, like their full damage output without this Jace. And they still will need to wait till he's alive so that he can teleport in. So they cannot rush their Dragon either.
All right, Raijin coming on in. DA Obsidian need to stage a defense here. Nice dodge away with the Dark Passage. Every single one from Captain Tay has been so valuable here. And the Satchel Charge going to stop the further up engage. Koi just backing it up. And Paradox about to go down. The damage comes through. Although the lockdown from Curse of the Sand Mummy is huge. Flash forward from Caterpillar to try to take their angle in the one fight that might matter this game. Stepping up against Sly, who's going to be forced to flash away. Kenpachi is back in the base. Is taking out JDK in a one-on-one, and there's now 2 members in the base threatening the Nexus, while Caterpillar and Void are just trying to chase down the stragglers from the team fight earlier. Can they get back in time? They haven't even started channeling their recalls yet, but Raijin doesn't know that that's happening. So 12 Kenpachi has to back away. Calcep is just trying to fight up against these Baron minions. Izzo is just there cheering them on with the Baron buff, knocking them back in, taking the one-on-one as all of these minions flooded the base. Caterpillar finally the recall only to get jumped down by 12th Kenpachi, and Raijin are going to close out game number 2 and take themselves to match point.
How did it get to this point? Like, I still think Raijin should have won. Like, don't get me wrong, Raijin should have won. But the way that it ended, it wasn't on my bingo card at all. Like, I wasn't expecting Calzip Jr. to die to Baron buffed minions when the Maokai was also just watching him on the side.
It descends into chaos in the last couple of minutes there. But you know what? The advantage in that chaos goes to Raijin, because they're the ones who've been winning the whole game. So they end up taking the victory there. I love Maokai just standing there with the minions just flooding into the base.
You're just watching him die. Like, that's a representation of someone just laughing at you while you fail miserably.
That's
like,
spectator League of Legends right there, baby. You just walk up and you get right in the middle of the action. You get to just cheer on as everybody else wins the game for you. That's Maokai gameplay. And it is going to be a second Maokai win in a row going over to Mr. Izzo.
Not like we said anything about Maokai being banned or anything like that, right? Like, we didn't say anything about the champion potentially getting banned. So who would have guessed that would have happened with the Maokai? Not me.
Not me either. So now, time to go back to the drawing board once again in this game number 3. Maybe now it's time to take a gander over that Maokai. Maybe it's time to take a gander over that Caitlyn, because the dragon pressure has just been supreme from Virtue Gaming over the course of this series so far. DA Obsidian, they've got to change something up here.
They have to change something. It also could be changing from the Syndra, even though I don't think it's necessarily bad. It feels like even though she can find value in a lot of those fights, her pressure is really not the same to what I feel like Sly has been able to accomplish. Like, in this game, for example, with the 6, his range just made it almost impossible to be confident that you could win a fight. Because from a safe distance, bombs, and bombs. And they just took way too much damage from those bombs from a safe distance. JDK, yes, he can burst people out, but when the side of DA wanted to take fights, I don't think it was as prevalent or as important compared to Sly. And I think that's a really big difference and a really big issue that if they are not able to deal with, they are not going to be able to win.
Absolutely true here. Well, we're going to have to check it out when we get into game number 3 here. We're going to throw it to another break, but we will be back to see if it is going to be Raijin taking this in 3, or if DA are going to find some ways back into this series.
Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the MetaShift playoffs, where Raijin is up 2-0 over Divine Ascension Obsidian. And we are well into this draft already. It's blue side Maokai again, DDS.
3 games in a row. I'm just surprised that they are really playing with it's something else. We have to fix something else. Well, they did take the Caitlyn, so I guess they fixed things. Now, is that Tristana mid lane or Tristana AD carry?
It's hard to call. The Caitlyn stolen away really means that both are possible. I could see the Tristana Thresh looking to challenge that Caitlyn lane in the early game. The Amumu was pretty good last game. I don't hate seeing that one come back for DA.
Yeah, it had kind of hit-seeking hooks or bandage toss towards Koi. Every time an engage happened, Koi was the one that got hit most of the time. So I do respect the Amumu. I wasn't against it from Calcip Jr. Morgana as a pairing with Caitlyn is not bad, and having that Black Shield, obviously against the Thresh is good, but against the Maokai as well, that's taking a second target that you can kind of walk into the, what is it called, the ulti. I don't remember the name, but someone can now walk into the ultimate, take it, and not actually get stunned, which is a really big deal to not get just consistently picked on by that ultimate.
Yeah, absolutely. Here going to be a big deal to try to fend off those roots. Now Fiora going to get taken off of the board here, still looking to target some of these great champions that have been carrying for Kenpachi over the last couple of matches. Fiora taking away the Akali as well from that game number 1. See if they make a run back on the Jace here. The Silo is going to get taken away here, as well as is the Kassadin. So still focusing on those mid lane bans for the side of Raijin.
Is it Syndra for a 3rd game in a row?
Could be.
If you're going to play for tank top, just take the Sion here or the Ornn here. That's still okay as well if you want to. Or Cho'Gath. That's also another option.
True. Could just blind pick a weak side top laner instead of saving it for last. See, though, maybe they do have an idea of something they want to challenge up in the top lane with. Instead, Cyrus taking down the Irelia. So a little bit of a flex between both solo lanes here.
Pretty interesting variation, like you're pointing out. Could be a mid lane Aurelia, could be a top lane Aurelia. I feel like JDK would be the one that I'm expecting the most to see the Aurelia into because of how well he's been playing so far. Even though his control over the game hasn't been the best, I still think that he's been one of the best performers. So overall, wouldn't be against it. But that also means now that Raijin could just send the Tristana mid lane. I don't think it's a bad matchup at all, and then just run away. It's still okay. There's Syndra. A lot of CC, a lot of control, a lot of push in the mid lane, which is something that in the 3 games has been prevalent. Someone to wave clear really easily. And I think that for engaging can also be quite good for Raijin. That means that it's a Tristana bot lane though. A Tristana to carry 100%.
Yeah, it does pretty much lock that one on in. And now what do they want to take in the top lane, knowing that it could be the Flex Irelia? There's that Jax, and it does get locked right in for the side of Kenpachi. Now, what are they going to take in the mid lane, knowing that they are likely up against this Tristana? Could still be the Irelia as well in that mid, and then they can take something up against the Jax. Lots of options been pinched away from both those positions, though.
They could opt into the Victor for the mid lane to try and have someone to answer the push and just have consistent pushing power there and send the Aurelia top lane. Instead, the Ornn. So they are going to play it safe in top lane, like we were talking about, and then playing the mid lane with this Irelia. Like I was saying, I'm saying though, you could have picked the Ornn in 4th and pick the Irelia in 5th. Like the difference is not that high, but the Ornn as a safe pick is still fine enough.
Yeah.
The idea though. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, and then you would have a much squishier opponent for the Irelia too. You would end up against the Ziggs or something, and that might be a little bit more what you're looking for. But instead, they want to save that Ornn for last, and they're going to flex that Irelia to the mid lane.
Exactly. Like I feel like the order does matter sometimes, and especially when you know that Kenpachi has been playing so consistently those carry top laners. You don't need to wait for the tank top laner to just come in the 5th pick. Like it's not that needed. Those are good to come blindly, but it's still the same idea for the 8 that we've seen in the previous 2 games. team fighting, try and team fight as effectively as possible with their engage, with their scaling damage, with their carry champions. I think they will have a lot more control now thanks to the Caitlyn, the Morgana, and the Ornn, which is a really important change up compared to the second game. And it's going to be good to also stop the Maokai from having so much control with the MIPS. Because if the Maokai cannot walk forward, that means that he cannot just lay the MIPS all around the map and be able to keep tabs of everyone.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. We'll see if they are able to utilize that little kind of adaptation in draft, make sure that they are going to be able to have that power that they've been lacking in the previous games. Once again, it's that double frontline setup for DAO up against what is a largely damage-centric Raijin. They do have a little bit more of a front line with this Jax. You know, he can step up, he can go on in for the ultimate and try to utilize that Grandmaster's might in such a way that they can kind of represent a pseudo frontline, but it's still going to be a lot more of a front-to-back team comp from DAO, a lot more of a pick-centric comp with a power on the side lane from the Jax from Raijin.
I feel like the main risk that you're running here against Raijin as the AO is the fact that if Kenpachi, as we've known, can play the game freely, if he gets free resources and doesn't get countered anyway, who's going to answer to him? The idea would be the Irelia, but I still think that if he gets free resources, Kenpachi has shown that he is good enough to just be able to outplay whoever is sent there. And then if you're sending your Irelia to that side, you're also losing a big chunk of your damage dealer in a team fight. Like, that's one of your main damage dealers in team fights. So you cannot just send the Irelia to the other side to respawn the Jax that will get free resources and just leave everyone else to die on the side. And Lissandra will create a lot of chaos, by the way, with those ultimates. Just being able to focus certain champions can be really dangerous.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? You have the flexibility. You can focus down specifically the Irelia or specifically the Caitlyn, or you can try to get into a big AoE and just ultimate yourself, slow everybody down, get that damage across, and buy additional time, especially if you start itemizing into that Zhonya's or anything like that. Going to be a really effective setup from Raijin. Now, I guess the big question is, can they express the same level of bot lane dominance now that they're off that Caitlyn, playing up against a bot lane that has historically been, you know, one of the more threatening ones with Caitlyn and Morgana together. This time up against the Tristana Thresh. The Thresh pick has been huge for Raijin throughout this series. Want to give a big shout out to Cat and Tay for what he's been able to accomplish there, especially at the Dark Passages. They've made so much of a difference. Will it be enough up against Morgana Caitlyn that feels like a lane designed from the ground up to be able to win here?
Yeah, it feels like such a difficult, or not difficult, but opposite way of playing now, because one of the things that we did see consistently in the previous two games is the fact that they had push almost all the time on bot lane because of the Caitlyn Thresh. Now you're going to get pushed on the other side from the Caitlyn Morgana. Now, I did mention at the start of the series that was more what we saw from Raijin in the wildcard matches to try and come back. They were getting pushed in bot lane and they just answered when they could. This series, it was the opposite, but they are kind of coming back to that sense. And as long as they get a hook on one of the champions and the Black Shield is laid, guess what happens? Someone gets bursted out. So I feel like there should be enough from Raijin to be able to play out that effectively and maybe give more resources to Kenpachi in the top lane and just give him that potential to carry effectively.
Yeah, absolutely here. I mean, that was a much quieter game from him in game number 2 on the Jace. Yeah. Still had some great performances, still was able to represent that pressure on the top side, but definitely a little bit more even-handed than what we saw in the Akali in game number 1. Going to want to turn that back around now up against this Ornn on the Jax. Going to both be scaling up, maybe even going to be a little bit on the back foot in the early levels when Ornn is at his strongest, you know, with Bellows Breath, all of the base damages that are in that champion. Going to, at about one item, though, really turn around and really be a massive winning lane for the Jax unless a strong Irelia can go and match him in the side lanes.
And those extra stats as well on the Ornn are going to be really valuable to give to other champions to try and play the later stage of the game. I'm just like, I feel like the idea from DA is not bad and their composition should theoretically work, but it's just that like giving a free pass to Kenpachi, I don't think it's a good idea in any way. Like, even though the last game was quiet, it was also on a chase. Like, he's not a champion known to essentially be the biggest threat in the late game, apart from some of the shock blasts. And then he was also going against a Sion, so it's not like he could just go in for the solo kill. But now as a Jax, he actually can go for solo kills even against tanks. That's the biggest worry.
Definitely is here. And where did DAO really go and play through? They've got to look at their bottom lane, right? The Caitlyn and Morgana, such a powerful lane when you can get set up. This could be their turn to really go in and stack the dragons. This could be their turn to try to set up dives in the bottom lane up against this Tristana and Thresh and get themselves into a position to be successful coming in to the mid game from that stance. And that's really what you got to focus on for DAO. It's going to be really hard to separate out this top lane where you've got Ornn, who isn't really a champion you want to gank for anyway, and Irelia in mid up against Lissandra, who's just going to be so mobile, able to get out with that Winter's Claw and able to stop the dashes from coming through from Irelia with that Frozen Circle. So going to be a big bot focus game for DAO. They've been struggling on that side of the map throughout the series. See if they're able to turn it around here as we are getting loaded onto the Rift.
Yes, and now we'll be able to get our answers on what both teams would really like to do. I would say, though, I would make an argument for maybe focusing the Irelia wouldn't be necessarily bad. It has to be 100% pre-6, though. Like, you cannot try and go towards the mid lane when Lissandra gets the Frozen Tomb, because at that point, it's really easy for her to evade ganks. But pre-6, I think there's arguments to try and put a little bit of pressure into the mid lane so that you can give the easiest of times to this Irelia. Like, the easier she gets the lane, the easier it is for you to play the later teamfights as well.
That's definitely true. And, empowering this Irelia could be a recipe for success if they can find a way to do it. It's just hard to do, especially in these early levels, especially up against Lissandra, especially when Maokai is this really big, powerful force in the jungle, especially being able to go in for those flash twisting advances in the early game. And so far, it's been pretty well done from Izzo. We are on to the Rift TDS for what could be our final game of the night, or could be the beginning of a crazy reverse sweep here. Raijin, Sting as 5, going to be spotted out by Caterpillar.
They had a good idea once again to start that early invade, but Caterpillar doesn't play with luckiness, or doesn't bet on his safety. Yeah, I think that's the better way to put it, and just saves himself. I still think this is a good level 1 to still keep pressure and keep attention on where the Amumu will start, especially because we know that bot side will get pushed. So you really want to not get just consistently attacked by the Mumu, maybe by even the Irelia coming down there.
And no adaptation from Izzo. He still channels that recall, and this time he gets it through. He will be able to go and start up on the top side if that's what he's looking for. But he's actually pathing towards bottom here. Paradox has set up that ward to spot him out when he starts pathing up that way.
Well, it could be one of those situations like we saw in the previous game where he just tries to either keep safe the Jax up there in the top lane so that he doesn't get ganked, or he tries to go for a gank onto the Jax and give him the early lead.
True. Did get to switch out to Sweeper, which is definitely something that he wanted previously. And a big leash from Koi and Captain Tay this time. Knows that they're going to be a little bit on the back foot in a lot of this laning phase anyway.
Good early trade there by Slide Red Fox. JDK taking quite a bit of damage, but this is kind of what you expect with your early early on. She wants to be on your face. I was expecting to see the Maokai go for the level 2 gank, honestly, here, because that's one of the best timings also to go against this Morgana when she doesn't have the Black Shield.
Definitely is, but not going to go for anything too aggressive here. And, you do kind of want that level 3 on the Tristana to get your full burst potential unlocked, but they, in theory, should be already without control of the wave and on the back foot by the time they get there for this Raijin bot lane. Matchup-wise, we'll see if they're able to make some magic happen in the 2 versus 2, though.
Would be surprised. I'm really not feeling like there should be a solo 2v2 kill down there. Even with the Thresh and the Morgana, the Tristana, I just don't see how that should be something that we expect. And look how I cast her cursed and now somebody dies. But I just don't see it coming.
Could happen. The first Dark Binding not going to find its target, though, and they've done a good job of keeping this wave frozen, actually. Koi missing out on very few minions, taking very little poke, and just keeping them in the worst position there, which is just right outside the blue turret. Secure the siege as well. Now, Cowsep looking for a bold path towards the bottom lane here, taking a very long route around through the opposing red buff.
Could be setting up for a potential dive. Like, the wave is crashing, they have a lot of damage, they have the C from the Morgana. There is not a lot of minions though, so maybe not the best opportunity to go for a dive. They want to go for
they're
this.
going for it though, going to lock down out of this Thresh, but Cowsep is taking so much damage from the turret, the jump in from Koi, but it's going to be a little bit too little and a little bit too late as Captain Tay goes down for first blood.
Really surprising that they were not expecting that potential dive to come through when they were so consistently pushed, and then you know that your jungler is on the top side, so there's no opportunity for them to be playing over on the top side, or at least to not be thinking about this coming through. Really good dive, they get the kill onto the Thresh, maybe they even get the kill onto Koi here. Sub Junior's trying to run here, they know that he's here.
Yeah, Cowsep gonna have to be very careful here, but
no flash.
Misses out on the bandage toss. No flash, and Koi gonna get a kill right back on this Tristana.
The ward that came through after they killed, or before they killed Captain Tay, ends up setting up for the counter kill onto the Amumu. Really good kill. They get the not the shutdown, but they get the kill onto the Mumu and double buffs onto Koi. That is not going to be super bothersome for this Caitlyn Morgana, but it certainly makes it so that they have to be a little bit more careful. Oh,
yeah, a tremendous lead for Izzo, who's now using it to gank the top lane and get Kenpachi his first kill of the game. 2-1 on the scoreboard. Raijin found themselves a way into this early game.
And if you're a Raijin fan, that's what you like to see. Give gold to Kenpachi, give the kill to him really effectively. They even push the wave, so Kenpachi is going to be able to back really comfortably. Nothing bad happening to him. Iso doesn't even die, and the game is setting up slowly but surely for Raijin.
Dread it, run from it, but B1 Maokai arrives all the same. Arrives to that top lane, sets up Kenpachi for an early game advantage. He's coming back now. He's got the Cull, he's got the Sheen. He is ready to scale up and be a massive threat later on. Gotta give it to Caterpillar, though, still with a big lead, but does get hooked in. The Black Shield's a little bit too late. Koi gets a big amount of damage back over, but can't even fully stack the explosive shot. He's just a little bit too weak here.
It's a little bit too late, and like you're pointing out, he is still a little bit too weak, but those hooks gives you the opportunity to hope that maybe Captain Tay can get a good pick before the Morgana reacts, and someone can end up getting killed by that.
Kenpachi now really flexing his muscles in these top lane, has himself a bigger lead, can really stack up the damage on that Counter-Strike, and Paradox is already at half HP. He's got no teleport. He is really struggling now.
That really is going to be something that we're going to see reoccurring in the top lane. Like, I just feel we're going to see that play consistently out there. Also, Amumu coming down here, by the way, so could be setting up for another potential kill.
Could be.
They're expecting it.
Yeah, they're going to see if they can keep freezing the wave where they want it here, as Fox has to be pretty careful here. Sly could get engaged on by Jay now that the level 6 has come through. That Vanguard's Edge, a big opportunity to make a power play from the Irelia. Does have the Frozen Tomb to stay safe, and Flay doesn't land onto Void, but the Death Sentence does, and Void has taken a huge pile of damage there. Nice dodge away. Focus all the damage down onto Captain Tay, but now what can Izzo do in this 2 versus 3, throwing out the saplings, but the loss of Thresh so early is probably just a little bit too much there. DAO ends up ahead.
I'm surprised Izzo didn't commit to try and go kill Void, because Black Shield was already down. The flash in from the Morgana was already down as well. They could have tried and go for the trade 1-for-1, and I don't think they do get the kill on the Maokai even if they commit. So good play from DAO. They take the bait and they turn it around really effectively. They get the kill and they put even more gold onto this Caitlyn, which is really good.
Yeah, Void shows again there. They still know that he's flashless. They still know that he's so low, and they are looking to set up as Captain Tay has returned to the bottom lane with some fresh Moby boots. Meanwhile, the lockdown on a Cowsep. Sly finds himself a solo kill on the top side of Kenpachi. He doesn't want to be left out. He's getting 1-2. 2 kills to 1 to each solo laner for Raijin.
See, and this is what I told you. The issue, or the biggest difference between this and the Jace, Jace does not solo kill tanks that consistently. In comparison, Jax can, and he will do it if he gets the chance. Really good play there by Kenpachi. Over on the bot side, though, they don't get the kill, the initial plan to go for the Caitlyn because of the big wave, which I think it's smart to not go for it. But pick off Cowsep Jr. on the side. Really good pick by Sly Red Fox. I don't think he gets any buffs off of that, but it's still a kill, and they get the dragon thanks to that as well.
Yeah, the Jack solo kill, that's all well and good, but how often do Lissandras with teleport get solo kills on junglers? That's pretty unlikely there. Somehow Sly Red Fox, wish we had the replay, finds an angle onto Cowsep and just blows him up.
Really just makes it easier for Sly Red Fox and for Iso as well, because if you take out the jungler, you do not have to worry about your lanes just being in a top spot. He now sees that the big bird is the only one left, or actually did he see it, because he just walked by really comfortably. But doing a really good job, Iso being ahead in form as well. They just need to be able to put enough pressure. Really nice hook.
Yeah, then there's going to be the engage on the Void. Void is already down. That's a reset for Koi. They can try to take this 2v2. Nice buster shot back into the turret. And that's shutdown gold onto Koi. And just like that, 3-0-0 on the Tristana. Raijin are winning in all three lanes.
So I'm pretty sure that was the plan when you picked the Tristana, right? But for it to work this effectively after how they've attempted to put a damper onto the bot lane is really good for Raijin. You have to question how if the Morgana was ready to be able to play this or not. Oh, wait a second.
Focusing in on the Paradox, but in a 1 versus 2, Kenpachi, you are not getting out of this one, my friend. The shutdown comes through to Paradox. Good luck down from Cowsep to get some gold back in the pockets of DAO.
Yeah, taking advantage of Kenpachi being a little bit too greedy, knowing that he can go for those solo kills. Ooh.
Good dodges there. Sly going to stay alive. The dive coming through for Izzo. He's going to have to tank it up for a little bit. Now going to have to immediately head for the hills. And Koi doesn't have the explosive shot. The turnaround from Caterpillar. It's a disaster. Raijin give up 2 kills. DAO now 4-1 for Caterpillar.
How did Koi didn't have... Like, what did he use it on? On turret?
I don't know. Must have been turret, must have been the wave, must have been something. But now Captain Tay is going down as well. And we are evened up on the scoreboard with a gold lead to DA Obsidian.
Yeah, that was even worse than just the initial kills that they got on the side of DA, because they lost way much more gold. Look at the difference in CS port scaling. They also got shutdowns because Tristana had a shutdown. So it was way more gold that DA got into their pockets because of that play. And you have to question Raijin going for this. Not because it's a bad idea, but because they played without their cooldowns, the important cooldowns.
Yeah, that's not an Aftershock Maokai. Can't tank up the turret all day long. Izzo has to start running away right away, and they just don't have the damage out that explosive shot. Looking around at Void here. Not going to end up going in, though. What surprises me, frankly, Koi has been going in every chance he sees.
Yeah, he really hasn't. Well, you kind of have to if you're playing the Tristana because of the nature of how your bump works and all that. Maybe getting a tempt here. No. Yeah, I think Tristana may be dead. In the bottom.
Yeah, trying to get away. Kenpachi's trading onto Paradox, but here comes JDK. Not going to find it. The Dark Passage comes in clutch once again. Captain Tay gets Koi out to safety.
Did Captain Tay had to flash, or did he already just had the Hex flash up?
I want to say it was already Hex flash, but I do not know for sure.
Yeah, it feels like the small difference there. Maybe that's why it was so easy for the Tristana to just run away. Still, they don't get collapsed, they don't die, and that's the important part for Raijin.
Yeah, and that means some plates going over to Sly as well. Finds a good angle in that mid lane to work his way through, get a little bit of extra gold while Irelia is paying a visit to the bottom lane. Now trading back here as they've returned, and you can see can't really do too much damage to the Merc Treads Irelia anymore. Going to be a while until you're at that point again.
Yeah, they're playing there to push. I feel like that's what Sly is playing there for. Push the lane, maybe find an angle to move around the map, and that's about it. Top lane as well, Paradox is just pushing as well. He finally now has enough tanky stats to just push out the Jax for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see. Looks like Kenpachi, he's got the Divine Sunder completed, though, so he's going to undo those tanky benefits from Paradox pretty quickly. Red Fox playing this Irelia lane very well, doing a good job of dodging away the flawless duet, but still losing quite a bit of HP anyway, as Rift Herald is thrown into the bottom lane, and Cowsep going to pick up first turret for his team.
Yeah, there were 3 members on both from both teams down there in the bot lane, but they respected the Rift Herald. They decided it was not worth their time to try and stop the push, and they lost the first turret. For the first time in the series, it feels like they lose the first turret to the side of DA, which makes sense. It's against a Caitlyn, but this also opens up for the first, or actually second dragon for DA.
1-1 on Dragons here. Izzo not going to be able to contest on that one. I'm just going to have to resume farming his jungle. Meanwhile, though, the top lane building up a bigger and bigger lead. Kenpachi going to be a big focus for this Raijin team, as they have now lost a lot of that lead to bottom lane. Looking for a solo kill. Kenpachi's going to pick it up. 1 versus 1 up against Paradox. Takes him out, and now is going to have some alone time with those turret plates.
Yeah, probably gets at least... he gets 100%. Not sure if he gets the second one just before
7 seconds.
They fell down. Yeah, they have enough time. Oh, Cowsep.
Oh, Cowsep finds himself face-to-face with Izzo. Izzo smites away that big bird, and Cowsep going to be forced to flash away, and Kenpachi gets himself all the turret plates he can, and now is maybe even going to look for that turret. I mean, Paradox going to have to TP here.
Yeah, will TP. There's a 2-level lead for Kenpachi. I don't think it's solo kill angle though, so that was close. I don't think it's solo kill angle in the top lane, but it's at least now to teleport down for Paradox as well.
Oh, all right. Sly Red Fox is in there looking to deal the damage on the Void. Void is likely going to drop here, but now it's still just buying time from the side of Izzo. He's actually done so much with that flash, staying at the max distance away, and Cowsep might be the next target here. Although Sly Red Fox just dropping down, getting pelted with bullets there from Caterpillar for now. Going to have to back away, but Kenpachi arrives to the play, maybe a little bit too late, dives in, gets one with the counter strike, but now he's out of mana, and it's going to be JDK looking to trade back, flash over the wall from the Jax. Will be able to get himself out to safety, but Koi has been nowhere to be found this entire fight, and the numbers advantage for DAO means they end up taking the fight 3-for-1.
Exactly, that always was in the favor of DA in terms of the amount of people that were there. Everyone was on the side of DA, thanks to teleports, also for movement. Koi arrived way too late. I think that he would have had more value just staying down there in the bot lane, pushing the wave, and getting the turret, than trying to collapse up there. They give up gold once again on the side of Raijin that is not really needed, and it's really nicely played by DA, the way that they were able to answer. But it's still, I still feel comfortable for Raijin, if I'm honest, because even with those deaths, they have found good angles. The Jax is still a really strong champion at this point in the game, and I'm still scared who is going to answer him.
Yeah, absolutely here, and gets himself a little bit more gold, although plenty of gold does go into JDK as well. It's really going to be a showdown between these two solo laners to see who is going to be able to dominate the side lanes in this game, but so far, more gold on the 12th Kenpachi. Going to keep on pushing, going to keep on trying to get himself some turret gold, and get to that point where he's going to be able to be a bigger carry in these fights and do more than just get one kill and dip out.
And now the next objective that they are probably going to be looking out for is that dragon in 2 minutes. The Herald is also up, but it's Herald pause plates, so probably not even that worth. It's going to be the dragon, and it's Infernal Soul, so a lot of damage. This is the first soul in the series that it's really, really worth your time getting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Void locked down here. Sly Red Fox, though. Who's catching who? Going to have to get over with the Dark Passage, and now still face-to-face with Cowsep. Doesn't have the ultimate, is just going to drop a little bit of an issue there for Sly. A little object permanence gap there. Finds that Cowsep is still waiting around the other corner.
I really don't understand the decision there by Sly. Just he could have just walked with the Thresh on the side and allow for him to body block in case something happened, but decides to go on the other side, doesn't see the Amumu before, probably, and that's why at the end he ends up paying with his life. They do get the turn in the bot side, which I think was going to be obtained anyway, because it's a Tristana, and they probably will get the one in the top lane as well because of the Jax. So the gold lead, it's no longer going to be this. I think it's actually going to turn into favor if the Jax gets the top lane turret, but that kill onto Sly makes really no sense. It's a kill that could have been avoided.
For sure here, as many have been from Raijin so far this game. They are still staying close, though. This is the closest game we've had so far for sure. Raijin not out of it, but on the back foot up against DA Obsidian, as the next dragon is going to be spawning here in about 30 seconds. Kenpachi now with the chance to take a one-on-one up against JDK. They are going to both throw down everything that they've got, and the damage lead is in favor of 12th Kenpachi. Nice dodge away on the Vanguard's edge as well. Will make this a winning trade for the Jax, but no kills going down.
It's a lot of damage that now Cowsep is taking there. The Jax will continue pushing up there in the top lane, so there's no risk with that. Oh,
Ooh, here comes the Nature's Grasp to try to turn things around.
How's
And Kosef drops.
Oh, the angle is perfect.
And Fox finds an angle into the back line, locking down, and there's going to be the buster shot to close out on a Caterpillar. Void now left all alone is going to drop, and that's going to be a triple kill for Koi as they get their chance at Dragon number 3.
Perfect angle by the side of Raijin. The engage by ISO, like we've seen all series long, perfect, gets the advantage and gets the setup for the kills to come through. Everyone on point, and the difference this time around, it's the numbers advantage in favor of Raijin. We also talked about this a little bit in the draft, where Irelia is probably your strongest member in terms of damage that you can do quite immediately. Oh, Sly.
Oh, Sly doesn't get the chance to recast the claw, and will end up going down as a result. Paradox with their second kill of the game, and just to find a nice pick there in the mid lane.
Exactly. It's not the best thing for Slide, especially after he did such a good play, being able to collapse into the Caitlyn and killing her. But all in all, it's not a kill that you feel bad about in the sense of that it's not a lot of gold. So it's not going to turn around the game by a lot.
Absolutely. 19 minutes into the game. Baron will be spawning here pretty soon, and topside dominance from Raijin. Definitely what you want when that objective starts entering the conversation. Still, it is this siege through the mid lane. The Caitlyn still incredibly powerful at trying to bust down these turrets. Koi just doing his best to clear out what he can and save what structures he can.
I don't think that works that way, Boyd. It's not that effective. But yeah, they haven't lost much when you look at it. They lost the bot lane turret, and that's about it. They haven't lost anything else objective-wise, and instead have been able to keep themselves up in terms of what they've obtained all around the map.
An optimistic hook from the bird pit there. Koi going to have to use that cleanse, but now here comes the roots from the side, but Nature's Grasp not going to be enough. The cats get ignored, and they will be just fine.
Okay, so that's actually worrisome, if I'm honest. Not because it's necessarily immediately bad or anything like that, but the ultimate broke the whole shield. Which means that I don't think anyone will be able to just walk that forward without being worried about it.
There's a big flash engage from Cowsep, taken further away than they expected. The follow-up bandage shots just sticking to Koi the whole way through. Flash forward, Dark Binding doesn't land. Cowsep going to drop to the turret damage, and you focused all your damage onto the Thresh. That means it's time for Tristana to turn it back around. Double kill picked up for Koi, and Caterpillar going to be forced to back on away. No matter how strong they are on the Caitlyn, they just cannot solo dive and are not going to be able to claim back anything other than the kill on Captain Tay.
They wanted that dive. They were the ones that pulled through. And I honestly, Calzep Jr., full power to him. The fact that he got every bit of CC down into the Tristana should have worked out in most cases. But really nice by Captain Tay to deny the Amumu as much as possible. And then as soon as everyone committed way too heavily, it just turned on its head and allowed for the Tristana to get back a couple of kills. Silently or quietly, but effectively, Koi is 8-1. That's a really, really strong Tristana.
It is. Hasn't even gotten to spend those last couple of kills of gold. Going to do that right now on 2 items. Would probably at least be able to get like another Zeal or something here. And is going to be so powerful in the upcoming fight. Oh, it's just going to go for the last Whisper instead, working their way through the Ornn and the Amumu. That makes a lot more sense.
I think it's smarter optimization. I like this more because now you will be able to actually deal with the tanks, and you also deal well with Irelia. Irelia also itemizing for some armor, so being able to take down those resistances from her is really good idea.
Yeah, for sure here. Baron's still in the car to the next dragon, going to be up in about a minute. Going to be potentially soul point for Raijin here, and they still have so much pressure in the side lanes. Kenpachi getting multiple members pulled up towards him, but not playing too aggressively, so it doesn't look like there's going to be an opportunity to punish. As they see Cowsep, they are tracking him. Are they going to try to make something happen? Looks like no.
I think they just want to try and keep tabs on him as much as possible so that it's easy to keep control over this dragon. It's 1 minute for the dragon. They already have great vision down there, and it's allowing them to just be always ready for the fight. By the way, I don't think we called this out, but Kenpachi got the Herald when they got the Dragon as well. So they got those 2 objectives at the same time. Gives them the opportunity to push even further in to the turret. And Paradox needs to be extra careful about this.
Yeah, it's huge. Is going to try to stop the Herald from charging. Doesn't look like he'll get to in time. And Kenpachi steps up to defend it a little bit, makes sure that they get the charge damage. And now
could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, gonna be ready now to TP for the upcoming dragon. Certainly not the result they were hoping for, as both teams grouped up around here. Cowsep could find himself face-to-face with Captain Tay. Flay comes through. Dark Binding lands. So does Death Sentence. Caterpillar forced to cleanse. The dive back in from Cowsep, but he's just getting destroyed by Koi, who gets his first reset of the fight. Now Caterpillar so incredibly low. Void going to drop down as well. JDK has to try to find a miracle fight here. The knockup does come through onto Koi. Koi does get taken down, and he cuts his way through the carries. Sly going to drop as well, as Tay and Kenpachi could never show up. They're going to lose 4 members here, 4-2, and DAO, they are going to be able to secure themselves the dragon, but the whole way through, Kenpachi is pushing on the top side and will take out the top inhibitor turret.
Yeah, Kenpachi will be able to at least answer back with this top lane turret, these 2 top lane turrets, and I don't think JDK stops this much. I will say though, Kenpachi did the right thing. I don't think he needed to teleport into that fight. I feel like the mistake comes from the other 4 members. To me, they were the ones that messed up, because that was a 1 fight. Amumu was picked up. He had to solo ult the Thresh. That should have been an easy win, and in reality it was looking like that, but they messed up their targeting and how they played the overall fight. Sly Red Fox goes in for the ultimate on himself, which is not wrong. The Tristana was in a horrible position in all that. He just got collapsed by JDK, who was on the side, gets killed, and doesn't apply much damage. I feel like Raijin plays that, like, they just need to change like 2 or 3 things in that fight, and even in a fight before, they win that. Kenpachi was not needed there.
Well, shout out to MetaShift League coming in with the raid from the main stream here. Raijin against all odds are winning the upset here. It is 16-16. It is so close in this game number 3, but with a 2-0 advantage, a win from Raijin would close things out here. They are putting all their eggs in the Koi and Kenpachi baskets, setting up around this Baron.
Are we gonna see another Baron just like play that, even though it's not a flip, they just win the game because nobody is able to answer it because of the Maokai?
Yeah, I mean, definitely on a knife's edge here, one way or the other. Paradox taking a little nap in this bush, waiting for the rest of the team to group up and be ready. The side laners are side laning, or members of each team grouping up around the Baron, ready to fight for the worm as soon as they find an angle.
We're reaching a point now, though, where like we were talking about this. Kenpachi, who is answering Kenpachi is the Irelia. Irelia doesn't win this fight against Kenpachi with 3 items. That means that now if they commit more people to that, oh wait.
Yeah, Cowsep taking a lot of damage. Sly goes on in, just locks down the first target he sees. Cowsep dives back in, gets a 3-man ultimate off Curse of the Sad Mummy, but the damage is just raining through from Koi, and nobody can stop him. There's no Irelia to turn the fight back around this time, and that's going to be a triple kill picked up for Koi around the Baron pit in trade for nobody. Kenpachi keeping JDK occupied in the bottom lane, and this should be Baron for Raijin.
And another massive pick coming from Captain Tay. I've talked a lot about ISO on the Maokai, and I think Maokai has been a big issue, but Captain Tay has been marvelous on this Thresh all night long. 3 games has been doing great with the hooks, with the lanterns, saving people, getting people off of the carries sometimes in some fights. Really great performance by the support on the Thresh, and I think it's something to look at for in the future matches if they do end up closing it out.
Absolutely here. I mean, who can stop this Raijin team? You know, they're getting written off a little bit here as coming in as the wild card, coming in having had such a poor showing in the regular season, surprising everybody by even making it here. And now with a potential 3-0 over DAO, where does it stop? I mean, this Raijin squad just looking unstoppable here in this series, being the closest game by far, and they're blowing it open anyway.
We're kind of in their stream, so let's be as biased as possible and say they win it all.
True, could happen. Could definitely happen. As there's going to be the hook back in on to
Captain Tay.
Get traded back. Captain Tay getting a little bold with it. It's going to end up going down. And now it's
I
side
gave
lane
you too
time
much
again, baby. Kenpachi still pushing, getting collapsed on by 5 members. No
It's
dark
okay,
passage to get him out of here this time. He's going to have to use Izzo as a little bit of an escape route. They're going to just go in onto Paradox. They're just going to try to take the fight 2 versus 1.
I really had to flash.
He lands the Vanguard's edge, but the tank has been melted down, but they're just going to melt through Izzo even faster. And that's going to be...
Oh, no.
Kenpachi stays alive. The stuns come through from Sly Red Fox. They buy Kenpachi enough time, and he's just ripping through him with the staff. Blade of the Ruined King gives him enough health regen to come back along with Divine Sunderer, and he's going to keep pushing in through the bottom lane. 4 members are down for DAO and Raijin. Kenpachi fights it back nearly single-handedly with a little bit of assistance from his jungler and mid laner, and they're going to look to take the base here and now, TDS.
I told you, who is stopping Kenpachi on the side lane? The answer is no one. Realistically, he doesn't even die. And now they are looking to try and close out this game. Potentially here, Tristana destroys turrets. They also have teleport on the Jack, so could be looking for this. Maybe they respect it more. They are going to respect it. They are going to play for the dragon. The soul point on their side, just, oh, they actually lost the turret.
You call Raijin many things, but they are not disrespectful in their attempts on the Nexus. They will... It can be right there, right in front of them, and they will not. Surely the rapid firing Tristana and Jack's not going for a recall would have taken the Nexus there. I think that's just objectively true, and they still choose to come back here, take the dragon, and take one more fight.
And now they essentially cannot leave base. Because any minion that is close to turret, Jax wins the game.
True. Yeah, he might just waltz in there on his own, to be honest. How are you going to stop him? You sent 4 people just recently, and it didn't work, and now he's stronger. And he's got Zhonya's Hourglass, and he's taking the fight up against Calcep. He's not done. He gets the stun, and Calcep is just not going to be able to get out of here. Call the Forge God coming through to try to interrupt him, but he's already taken out 1, and he's willing to take more. He will kill again as the Zhonya's pops out, and the stun comes through as well. Finally, the shutdown will come through. Caterpillar lays down the trap, lands the headshot, and takes out the unstoppable top laner of Raijin. But now Izzo and Captain Taya, they're going to have to head for the hills and avoid giving up anything more than they have to, while Koi continues to push in the mid lane.
Yeah, the bad part about the Sunjus is that you're a sitting duck for the Caitlyn traps. But while they're persecuting everyone on the side of Raijin, guess what Tristana is doing? She's taking turrets down. That's precisely what she does best. Oh, JDK may get a kill here.
Oh, all right. Captain Tay once again doing his supporting duties, just trying to keep Izzo as safe as he possibly can. Izzo might survive as a result, but Captain Tay almost certainly will not. There's no carries to bail you out this time, my friend. There's no flash available. Izzo, just leave, my dude. You're not going to save him. Just accept his sacrifice. Make sure it's not in vain.
That almost turns into Izzo just killing himself without appreciating the sacrifice that Captain Tay did there. So luckily, nobody else dies. But that was looking risky for Izzo. They were respecting the A until they didn't. They could have just taken the turrets like you were saying, run away, and nothing bad happens. They did try to commit a little bit too much with the Jax, and that Jax ends up paying the price. But I still feel like any teleport from the Jax is almost a game win if they are not careful enough.
In Izzo's defense, we do not know what the comms sound like. Maybe Captain Tay is just begging for help, screaming for somebody to come and save him.
Then I blame Captain Tay because you just die. You as a support pretty much just give your life for anything.
It's still the wrong call. We just don't know whose call it is.
You do not care for the life of the support. That's all I'm going to say. They are there to be sacrificial pawns, as controversial as that is.
Yes. Here comes the 4-man squad. Raijin regrouped, ready to rumble, ready to try to close this out. That's a nice hook from Calcep, but he's so far away from the rest of the team. Call the Forge God comes through. Koi gets locked down for an instant, but is now just going to be able to rain down the damage, and nobody was able to focus him. Meanwhile, Kenpachi has found his way onto Caterpillar in the back line, goes golden, and now is going to keep the fight going as Sly Fox has rejoined the rest of them to provide the lockdown with the frozen circles. There's going to be the kills. There's going to be 5 members down. That's a 5-for-0 ace, and that's Raijin taking the 3-0 sweep.
Fully deserved, really dominating fashion. Everyone expected the 3-0 today, only not on the Raijin side. That was surprising. The underdog story still lives on, and as we're on their stream, they are probably going to be champions. I'm not biased at all.
I mean, wow. What a crazy sweep there. I mean, and huge performances from basically every member of Raijin there, right? I mean, everybody's going to talk about Kenpachi. He's the new addition to the roster where they've really turned down a lot. He has the fancy Akali and Jax performances, but great Maokai games out of Izzo. Great ability to lock in Maokai on B1 3 games in a row. Great.
He has no words for that, honestly. How does that happen?
Runs from Sly. Great games from Koi as well. 2 Caitlyn games and a Tristana game. All of them with some bot lane dominance there. Maybe a little bit shaky there. And 3 games with Fresh from Captain Tay were really crucial to being able to pull out this win. And, you know, it seems really tough to stop this team, especially if you don't ban Maokai. But a lot of jungle focused bans, though. The Viego, the Kindred coming through ban every single game. They felt like, you know, there were too many things that they had to keep out of the hands of Izzo. And they end up coming with the win.
And that is a strategy that will benefit them the longer it goes, obviously, because the more bans you need to put onto certain players, the more open the pools for other become. Like, you cannot attack Kenpachi, it feels like, because if you ban 4 or 5 champions from him, you open up everyone else's pool. And we know that Captain Tay feels really comfortable with that thresh. So do you ban it? Do you play against it? Do you try and take it away? Like, there's a lot of implications now for pick and ban that feel a little bit difficult for the side of Raijin, because there's a lot of champions that now you need to be extra careful about playing against.
Absolutely. And DA Obsidian, you know, taking a rough loss here. Some good performances there out of Cowsap, especially on the Amumu. Good run from Caterpillar there, especially in the last game, but they just cannot get everything together, be able to take themselves a win in this series. And are going to bow out here after a sweep from Raijin.
Yeah, they were a team that were kind of hyped up in how a lot of people were expecting for them to perform. They still reached playoffs, which is not bad, but like we did talk about this last week, and I was confident. Like I said, I don't think Raijin will win against them. Like, I thought they would be able to get a win here and there, like a 3-1, but I didn't expect Raijin to just come in and 3-0 them so heavily. So there's a lot of things to reevaluate on the side of TA. Hopefully, a lot of the players can come back, be it on this team or a new one, and we get the opportunity to see them evolve more in next split, next season, or next tournament. But it feels kind of disappointing for them.
Yeah, and riding a crazy wave here on a hot streak is Raijin, winning, I think that's like 9 games in a row or some crazy garbage like that. They have not been able to be stopped here, and now keeping that hot streak going into the next round. They are not going to be stopped anytime soon here, TDS. We'll see how long they can keep it up next time they have a series to play. But that is going to do it for tonight's stream here on Virtue Gaming Live. Thank you all for tuning in for this Raijin victory. And from myself, TDS, and Benjamin's on production, have yourselves a great night, and we'll see you again soon.
The Savage.